The main character's staring at these tiny, chubby, super cute little baby hands. She's racking her brain, trying to figure out whose they could possibly be. Then it hits her every time. Those are her hands, but she just can't wrap her head around it. A woman walks up, calls her my lady, and asks what's got her so worked up that she keeps sighing. The little kid starts flailing her arms and legs, demanding they let her go, like, now! But since she's the daughter born to a concubine, she still has to keep up appearances, act dignified. Hearing she's a member of the royal family just makes the girl even more insistent about being released. So, we can figure out our girl got reborn in some parallel universe as a princess from the Joseon Dynasty. And not just any princess, but the unfavored daughter of a concubine. Ouch. A lot of people might think, hey, she's the emperor's daughter, so she's set for the good life. But this little one's different, though. Even though she's a newborn, not many people are lining up to take care of her. The wet nurse treats her like a princess, and the woman next to her watches like she's the boss. So it's pretty obvious our girl doesn't come from great stock. Life ain't easy for a daughter born to an imperial concubine. If her half-brother is involved in treason, she could get executed with him. But she probably doesn't have relatives like that. Either way, the little one's happy she was born into the imperial family and doesn't have to worry about scraping by. But right now, our heroine's more worried about infant mortality. Judging by the fact that they're using modern language, this probably isn't a real Joseon Dynasty. The wet nurse asked the lady why she had such a gloomy look on her face. The woman tugged at the ribbon on her chest, and the little girl knew she didn't want to see that. But the wet nurse was super surprised that the little missy was refusing to eat, because she was sure the kid was just hungry. But it's totally normal for the little one to refuse that stuff, especially since they were trying to sneak honey in there while she was feeding. Guess these broads don't know how dangerous honey is for babies. The girl never would have thought that the stuff she learned taking care of her little brother with her sister would actually come in handy. Except he died in a car crash when he was coming home with their parents. Her older sister worked her butt off to pay the hospital bills for their parents in the ICU, but they passed away soon after. Our girl was still in high school back then, so it was really rough on her sister. She had to take care of her little sis, and even put off her wedding, because her sister kept saying she didn't care about it. The main character doesn't even remember the guy her older sister was gonna marry. Thing is, every time he gave her gifts, he was giving her away too. One day, the girl got her hands on a script for a drama that was about to drop. And that day, leaving her part-time job, the main character figured she'd dig into the script when she got home. But then, a freaking truck came out of nowhere and wrecked her plans. Her last thought was just what was gonna happen to her sister, left all alone. Suddenly, the young woman saw her older sister looking after her while she was out cold. But for some reason, she's crying. Then, when the main character opened her eyes, she was reborn as a kid in a world straight out of a historical drama. A woman came up to the girl, wanting to hold the little one. She looked a lot like her sister. Who would have guessed this concubine's voice would be a dead ringer for her mom's, which sounds totally unbelievable right now. Since she looks like the heroine's sister, the heroine sees her more as a sister than a mom. The little kid started feeling bad about leaving her sister all alone. It felt like something super important had been ripped away from her. The girl fell asleep, but woke up soon after, to voices in the room, arguing about something heatedly. She was stunned as soon as she heard her sister's voice, but it definitely wasn't her. So the main character had absolutely no idea who was holding her. Maid Yoon started begging to be allowed to take care of the little miss for just a little longer. But the request was denied, because the concubine was sick after giving birth. Now, Yongbin will take care of and raise the miss, so the mother can just rest up. This woman didn't give a damn all this time, and now she's acting like she cares. For some reason, my sister looks like she's about to burst into tears. If she gets it, then she shouldn't make things harder than they need to be. But the main character wasn't having any of that, so she started wailing. She didn't want anyone taking her sister away from her. The woman, sounding just like her mom, got flustered and figured the little miss was crying because she woke her up. She told the nanny to take the kid for now. But the little one didn't want to leave her sister, so she started kicking and thrashing like crazy while they handed her to the nanny. They couldn't hold on to the little miss. Before she fell, the girl saw the look of pure terror on her sister's face. Even though the main girl promised to be nice to her, she still couldn't keep that promise. But for some reason, it didn't even hurt. That's because someone managed to catch the little one. It was some boy, but the main girl didn't know who he was. But seeing the dragon design on the guy's clothes, the little one figured he was from the royal family. His Highness was instantly swarmed, and they anxiously asked if he was hurt. He calmly replied that he was fine. The heir was relieved that his sister was okay too. For just a second, the little one felt relieved. But then she noticed the dragon design was damaged. But His Highness told them not to worry. It was just a little dirt on his clothes, nothing he couldn't fix. But the main character knew the maid who'd have to restitch that crazy pattern was gonna be pissed. The heir called his sister brave, 'cause she didn't even cry. He's the crown prince, way higher up the food chain than some concubine's kid, so she didn't expect him to come to her rescue. Yeonbin asked the prince what brought him here. Turns out, he came to check on his little sister, who'd been sick for ages and missed her 100th day party. But the prince almost walked in on a total disaster. Yeonbin begged His Highness not to get the wrong idea. They were ordered to take the kid and raise her. But the only problem was the maid, Yoon, who refused to give her up. But the prince coldly asked how the hell the only princess almost got hurt. Yeonbin apologized, and the heir told them not to forget what it meant to His Majesty to give her the kid. The main character was getting curious about what he meant, since his sister was scared. The prince suggested leaving her with their mom and Yoon for a bit longer. Yeonbin couldn't disobey His Highness. The little one realized the heir and the concubine were arguing over her. The prince added that he could personally tell His Majesty about the princess's condition. Yeonbin promised to give the princess to Yoon, the maid. The main character started to sense a hidden power struggle in the palace. A servant approached His Highness and reminded him that he was late. The little one clung even tighter to her brother because she didn't want him to let go and leave. The heir told her not to worry because he was going to tell their father everything. He handed the little girl to the servant, Yoon, and asked her to take care of his sister. The woman scooped up the daughter, tears of joy welling up because she could finally hold her baby again. Even after their parents died, the sisters only had each other. The main character felt bad she wasn't born the heir, because then she'd be treated better, and her sister wouldn't be crying. Before leaving, the prince told her to make sure everything was taken care of. Yoonbin promised she would, but she remembered that someone else was also waiting to see his only sister. Suddenly, a little foot tapped the main character's shoulder, and a voice started demanding she wake up. The girl guessed it was Yoon Shiwoon, Yoon's younger brother, who was keeping her from sleeping right now. Their parents never punished the boy, so his two older sisters took over his upbringing. So, thanks to his sisters raising him, that crybaby turned into a total chick magnet. But then he died in some freak accident. Realizing that, the main character's eyes snapped open, and she saw some kid she didn't recognize poking her with his foot. He doesn't look like Shun, though he is pretty cute too. Looking around, the girl had no clue where she was. The nanny who fed her honey, and the maid who almost dropped her, brought her here while she was asleep. The boy, grinning like a jerk, called the girl ugly and noisy, all because she's low class. The main character didn't make a peep, and the boy coldly asked if she was seriously going to ignore him. He yanked the kid's arm just like that. The maid jumped in right away, trying to explain to Lord Kyanan that the princess is still really little. If anything happens to her, he's gonna be in deep trouble. But the prince just grabbed the maid by the hair, demanding to know how she dared interrupt him. The maid started apologizing, but Kyanan just told her to get lost, real harsh. Even though it hurt like hell, the woman didn't make a sound. The main girl started shaking all over, cause she had no clue what she was doing in a place this dangerous. Then Yongbin walks in, all pissed, asking if she didn't tell them to take good care of the lady. Seeing the maid shaking like a leaf, she asked Kyanan what the heck was going on. The prince explained he just wanted to play with his little sister, but some maid decided to get in the way. The concubine asked her son with a shaky voice what he'd done to the kid. But Kyanan told her not to worry, because this time he wouldn't screw things up. The main character froze, totally clueless about what was wrong with this guy. Yeonbin started explaining to her son that he needed to be nice to the heir, because he's still just a kid. The prince agreed with his mom, but she reminded him he couldn't call her mom in public. Back in the Joseon Dynasty, the emperor's kids came from concubines, but they all had to treat the empress as their mom. Out of nowhere, Gyanan innocently asked his mom why she was given that thing. The concubine told the prince to watch his words, because that girl is still his sister, you know. Gyanan finally agreed. The prince headed for the door, announcing that he had to get going. The door shut, and the main character felt relieved, but then wondered what the heck she was supposed to do now. Looks like Lord Gyanan's feeling awkward about the lady showing up. Ever since the empress kicked the bucket, he's been off women for years. And then suddenly, boom, there's Seung-yoon. Yeonbin said they have no clue what's gonna happen after this pregnancy. Plenty of concubines have gotten knocked up before, but none of them were exactly in the emperor's good graces, because most of them either miscarried or the kids were born weak and just keeled over. But hey, at least that maid Yoon had a girl. The maid told Yeonbin there's nothing to sweat, since Yoon wasn't the emperor's favorite concubine. Still, it's pretty obvious. If His Majesty has a kid that survives, he's gonna treat Yoon right and visit her soon. But since that concubine's got the constitution of a wet noodle, Yeonbin's gonna take care of the kid. In other words, this is that whole concubine slugfest the main characters heard about. While Yeonbin raises the princess, she can use her as bait to get His Majesty to come around. Once she's pregnant with that kid, she'll be useless. The concubine asked the maid if she really gave the baby honey while breastfeeding. She nodded to confirm, but the baby kept refusing the honey, like she understood something because of her common roots. So they were intentionally trying to feed the main character honey. The little one realized she really could die if she stayed here. Our girl wondered what she'd done wrong in her life, because she'd never hurt anyone, and she even gave her allowance to those in need. Right now, the only way to survive was to punish Yongbin. That's why the main character burst into loud sobs. The concubine froze up, frantically telling the maids to calm the young mistress down. The little girl had goosebumps all over, thinking someone wanted her dead. The maids and nanny wanted to call a doctor, but Yongbin shouted that they absolutely couldn't. The concubine ordered them to quiet the kid down immediately so nobody would hear her screaming. She grabbed a blanket and suggested smothering the girl with it to muffle the sound. But Yongbin totally wasn't expecting to see the guy who just walked in on them. The emperor, furious, demanded to know what Yongbin was doing. The concubine, voice trembling, tried to explain it was just a misunderstanding, and the mistress was just cold. The main character couldn't scream very loud under the blanket. But then, out of nowhere, she saw light. The guy scooped her up, and the little one noticed the dragon design on his clothes. She'd seen it before. The emperor trusted Yongbin with the kid because he figured she could take care of her. The concubine tried to make excuses, but the ruler wouldn't even listen. The second he held the princess, she stopped crying instantly, which said a lot. Yongbin lied, saying the lady just had a fever, and she just wanted to check on her. But the emperor wasn't buying it, and told Kim, the servant, to take the baby away. So, looks like our main character is getting dragged off somewhere again. The little one clung to her dad and started wailing even louder. The emperor's brow furrowed as he demanded to know why the kid was reacting like this to someone who's been caring for her since birth. He ordered that Yongbin wasn't allowed to leave her quarters for a while, so the emperor called in a doctor to check on the kid. From now on, the princess will sleep in the emperor's chambers. After they took the baby, she never went to see her. The empress lost a few kids, had to go through a lot. But luckily, she managed to safely deliver the current crown prince, and then the princess too. Everything was fine, until the young princess died from some sickness. The empress's mind and body weakened day by day. Then she took in a concubine's kid to raise, but he died soon after too. The empress suffered a lot, and eventually she died. Plenty of women managed to get pregnant, but not many of those kids made it. No matter how many kids the emperor lost, he could never get used to it. Night had barely fallen when he ran into the crown prince, who said he'd seen the youngest kid today. The emperor figured he meant Kyungwon, but the prince was talking about the baby sister, the one who doesn't even have a name yet. Dad reminded his son not to get too soft on his younger siblings, but the heir explained that she seemed like a strong and clever kid. Thing is, the maid Yoon's baby has been sick since birth and could die any minute. The prince said that even though she was almost dropped, the little sister didn't even cry and recognized him as her brother right away. That's why the heir thinks she's strong and smart. It'd be better if the emperor just forgot about this, but he can't even imagine that Yongbin could do something like this. Being the adopted daughter of Counselor Hong Sang-jo, Yongbin had decent status and even managed to give birth to Kyungwon, the emperor's second son. Because Yongbin is the counselor's daughter, the other officials also support her. If this woman can take good care of the princess right now, everyone's gonna be all over her with praise. But honestly, it would be way better if Sonbin, Kyungwon's real mom, was healthy, you know? The emperor just snatched the kid, so she's stuck in his room for the night. Man, wouldn't it be sweet if all the kids born were as healthy as Kyungwon? The main character's eyes popped open, and she was instantly like, "Wait, when did I fall asleep? It's morning already?" Right in front of her face, she saw a bunch of dark hair on someone's mug. The emperor noticed the little one was awake. The maids were all bug-eyed, staring at the emperor's chambers. Soon as they heard the baby's piercing scream, the ruler of the empire asked his oldest son why his baby sister was crying right now. The heir just smiled and told the little one to chill out and stop crying. The heroine's tears vanished instantly. The emperor showed up at just the right time yesterday, probably because of what the crown prince said. The heroine couldn't hate her own savior, so she crawled over to her older brother. The heir picked up the little one and smiled. Judging by how she went to him, she remembered he was her older brother. The emperor couldn't figure out why the little one would cry at the sight of the ruler of this country, but the heroine frowned. The heir figured the girl was scared because she woke up in unfamiliar surroundings. But the real reason the heroine burst into tears was simple. She woke up in the arms of some stranger, since she hadn't gotten a good look at his face last night. The heroine couldn't believe her sister was involved with a bearded dude, which is why she couldn't get used to it. If mom and sis look alike, then maybe this uncle looks like her brother-in-law. The emperor couldn't figure out why the kid was chill with her older brother, but cried when she saw her own dad. The crown prince figured the little one just got spooked by his majesty's beard. The guy remembered the princess still didn't have a name and suggested giving her a temporary one. But the main character wasn't having it, because she didn't need some lame nickname, she just wanted a real name. The prince grabbed one of the books off the table and told his sister to pick out any character she liked. Back when the main character was in school, she got decent grades in Chinese writing, but now she couldn't read squat. Guess she'd better brush up on her characters if she doesn't want to be seen as a total moron. There's gotta be a character they use all the time around here somewhere. Okay, so our girl wasn't exactly a kanji whiz, but she definitely managed to memorize her own name at least, so she pointed right at it. Turns out, it was the kanji for Shia. The emperor burst out laughing, not believing his daughter could actually like a name like that. But the main character totally nailed it. Even though the little kid picked it randomly, the name actually makes sense. It means creating clarity. A little later, a servant offered the young lady some food, but Shia turned it down. The emperor didn't get how she could resist when she was obviously hungry and hadn't eaten a thing. This lady probably wouldn't pull anything in front of the emperor, but Shia wasn't about to let her guard down, not even for a second, because she just doesn't trust people. But out of nowhere, the emperor shoves a spoonful of food in the princess's mouth, saying she's hungry after all. Shia eats, but she feels weird, because even though her dad's feeding her, he's still basically a stranger. The emperor smiles, seeing that the prince was right about her, and keeps on shoveling food into his daughter. Shia starts crying again, and the maid explains that babies cry and get mad for no reason all the time. The little lady will get used to everything soon. Truth is, our girl thought her dad would be this super cold dude, but he's actually pretty normal. It's been a few days since she got brought here, but Shia's life hasn't really changed much. Just added a boring bio dad who plays with her without much enthusiasm, and a handsome brother. But Shia was wondering when she could go back to her sister. The emperor noticed the little one was starting to doze off, but she snapped awake the second she heard voices in the room. The court ladies were gossiping about how the emperor's never been this nice, and maybe something happened in that annex. They're talking about where Yongbin lives right now. The women shut their mouths as soon as they realized the princess was awake. The main character froze, not seeing the emperor anywhere. Is it just these weird court ladies here, and nobody else? Shia started wailing, which threw the women into a panic. A wave of pure terror seized the little girl, as one of the court ladies extended a hand toward her. The main character scrambled backwards, real fast. Just then, a guy walks in and barks, "What the hell is going on here?" After a beat, the heir apologized to his mentor. The man was taken aback, seeing a baby in his highness's arms. The prince grinned and explained it was his little sister. A few minutes ago, he'd burst into his dad's chambers as soon as he heard a kid wailing. A court lady explained pitifully that His Majesty had stepped out on business, and the princess got freaked when she woke up. That's how Shay ended up being brought here by the crown prince. His Majesty needs a break too, so the prince decided to help his dad and personally watch over his little sis. Even though Shay ended up here by accident, she shouldn't be bothering the crown prince, because he's gotta become emperor. So, the little tyke whacked the book with her tiny hand. But the prince took it as her wanting to learn, so he let her. The tutor remarked that the young lady was sharp, and the prince puffed up, bragging that Shia even came up with her own name. She looked at the book and poked at a character she liked. The main character was sure the tutor was thinking this was total BS, but he wasn't saying anything. Shia mentally begged the crown prince to stop before rumors started that he was an idiot. Suddenly, some guy behind them smirked. Hearing that, the main character turned around. She glanced at the guy who's always got the crown prince's back. But this was the first time she'd seen him smile. Shia figured he was the prince's attendant. All the warriors are old guys, and he's the only young blood here. Out of nowhere, the crown prince touched the princess's hand, even though he should have been hitting the books. Shay didn't get why he started squeezing her cheek like that. She was over it, so the little one decided to take action. She hopped onto the teacher's lap and gave the crown prince, now sitting across from her, a real firm look. Everyone got the message. The young lady wanted the prince to leave her alone and just focus on his studies. As soon as class was dismissed, the tutor figured His Highness's ceremony was coming up pretty quick. Once his spot in the main palace is locked down, everyone's gonna have to get ready for the crown prince's wedding. Before long, His Majesty's gonna start the selection process to find a suitable bride for his son. The main character managed to snag a ton of intel in such a short amount of time, but the prince told his tutor to drop it, and the conversation turned into a grandpa nagging his grandson. But Shia put her hand over the prince's lips, because he's still a kid, and sometimes you just gotta smile and nod. The heir promised his sister he'd only play with her. His Highness turned around when he heard his dad's voice. The emperor smiled, remarking that it looked like the prince enjoyed spending time with his sister. Dad heard Shia crying her eyes out again, but the heir said everything was cool now, no need to worry. He heard his sister scream, so he went to her, and the little one stopped crying the second he picked her up. The prince was stunned when his dad wanted to take Shia, thinking his son was worn out from watching her all day. But the heir told his dad that Lei was probably the tired one, so he was happy to chill with his sister a bit longer. But the emperor kept pushing, telling the prince it wasn't good for a kid to keep changing where she sleeps. The main character doesn't care who she's with, as long as she's safe. Still, if she goes with the prince now, she'll feel bad for her dad, because he's been working so hard looking after her. Looks like he's already gotten attached to her. Besides, Shia already got the vibe last time that all the Eastern Palace servants kinda dislike her for some reason. Out of nowhere, the crown prince suggests they see who Shia goes to. That cracked the emperor up, because there's no way the kid's gonna pick his brother, since he's the one who's been putting her to bed and feeding her like a dad. The guys sat facing Shia and called her over at the same time. The main character was like, what are they even doing? She still can't get used to having to do stuff like this, but she starts crawling anyway. But Shia can't just choose like that. The smartest move is to do things differently. The mentor, the maid, and the crown prince's guard instantly freaked out when the princess started crawling towards them. Shia decided to pick someone else. The young guy leaned down, totally confused, and stared at his mistress. The emperor and his son were stunned, completely clueless about why the princess chose Ross him. The guard figured the princess just wanted to bail out of there. If that's what she wants, he's got no choice but to listen. But the crown prince and his majesty are still waiting for her answer, so she needs to think about this. Shia didn't get why they were asking a kid for something like that. She's still just a baby. Eventually, the main character completely lost it and started yelling, totally pissed. The prince admitted to his dad it was the first time a kid ever chewed him out. But the emperor was just as surprised. Luckily, they got Shia's message loud and clear. And with that, our girl was back in the main palace. The crown prince was bummed after saying goodbye to his sister. But hey, they'd see each other again tomorrow. Now the emperor can't get enough of his daughter. Shia felt bad for the court ladies, who had nothing to do with Yongbin, so the little one decided to be nicer to them. But a month had already gone by, and Shia couldn't stay here forever. As nice as it was, if she kept acting like this, she'd never get back to her sister. Ever since Yongbin took her away, the maid Yoon's been so heartbroken, she's sick again. Our main girl just hoped her sister was okay. But the little sis can't handle that. We gotta pull a stunt, just once, so the emperor gets how hard it is to watch a kid. The emperor was constantly racking his brain, trying to figure out what to do with Shia. Ever since he found out she was born, the dude's been trying not to give her too much affection. The emperor figured he was just a terrible dad, totally incapable of taking care of a kid right. If maid Yoon raises the princess, he'd have to treat her like a concubine, and others would be nice to her if she got the Sukwan title, the lowest ranking concubine. But the officials will fight it and definitely make a stink. After Yongbin couldn't handle the kid, the officials are now busy sticking up for her even more. But then the question is, who the heck do we give the princess to? When the little one's bored, she comes to her old man and just stares at the paperwork, not touching a thing. Shia just chills and watches, and the emperor can totally leave her alone in the room, no sweat. And she's so freaking cute when she giggles. But His Majesty seriously does not want to be separated from her. Suddenly, the guy notices the kid's not where she usually parks her butt. Turns out, she's up and wobbling toward the table with the vase on the edge. The emperor couldn't believe his daughter was actually standing. But then it hit him, the danger his kid was in right now. And he bolted. Everyone standing behind him jumped when they heard the crazy noise coming from the emperor's chambers. The crown prince's mentor threw open the door, all freaked out, asking His Majesty what was wrong. But he saw something he shouldn't have. So the teacher called for a healer. But the emperor only cared about how the princess was doing. The mentor told His Majesty he really ought to move the lady somewhere else, because what happened today is just the beginning. First thing the emperor did was clear all the dangerous stuff out of the room. The men let out a heavy sigh, and the main chick sighed right along with them. The emperor was all like, wait, am I the only one who thought the princess just sighed? The mentor was floored and suggested His Majesty help sort through all the important documents before the ladies-in-waiting arrived. That way, His Majesty can get back to his royal duties. Shia spotted a box and made a noise. The main character just wanted to cause some trouble, but she never thought her dad would jump in and get hurt because of her. She felt so bad for the guy, because he's not getting any younger, and his joints ain't what they used to be. The emperor decided to show his daughter the stuff the empress, the crown prince's mom, left behind. She used to give him these things when he was still the crown prince, back when they'd sneak out together. So, he and the empress must have had a really good thing going. But the guy thought he was a total screw-up to his wife. The crown princess got picked when she was still a kid, so everyone started watching her every move. The elders said the crown princess was way too soft, and the palace ain't the place for people like that. The crown princess had a really rough time living in the palace, so she ended up having to take meds for it. Then she started miscarrying all the time, and her first son died soon after he was born. Since she couldn't fulfill her duty, she had to personally ask a concubine to take over the job. Luckily, the crown princess managed to give birth to a boy, so everyone thought all the suffering was over. But fate's a real bitch, and the woman ended up kicking the bucket. The Empress, who still had a youthful face and kind eyes, once said she wanted to give birth to a beautiful princess. If she saw this tiny, soft little baby, she'd be over the moon, for sure. The Emperor figured Maid Yoon was probably missing her own daughter, something fierce. Xia immediately let out a happy little sound. The man kept wondering what the hell Yeonbin did to make the kid so scared. For some reason, the little one was reaching for the pottery again. The Emperor promised his daughter he'd get her one later, once she was a bit bigger. You could tell from her eyes, the princess was totally digging the pottery. Maybe the little kid just liked how shiny it was, you know? Thing is, that thing's super dangerous for her right now. So the Emperor told his daughter to keep her hands off. Xia doesn't even know what she's doing yet, after all. The Emperor's never been this close to a kid before, so everything she does is brand new to him. But then the elder straight up said the mother of the nation spot can't stay empty anymore. Something's gotta give. Hong Sang-jo, Yeongbin's foster dad, came to see the Emperor. The Empress's seat can't be vacant any longer, so the state counselor asked His Majesty to make a decision. But the Emperor thought it was his business, and nobody else's. Period. Hong Sang-jo kept pushing it, which started to wake up the princess, so the Emperor told him to keep it down. They probably came here because Yeonbin got her punishment. The elders are sticking their noses in because they're used to the old Emperor, and they don't like how things are now. Even Pyeong's in the mix, and he's the prince's uncle on his mom's side. They decided to drag Yeonbin's other family members in here to protect the prince, replacing the old Empress's family. Even if the Emperor bumps Yeonbin up to Empress, the elders won't back down. They'll just start raising hell again later. Hong Sang-jo kept pushing His Majesty for an answer. The little one woke up and started crying because of the loud voice. The elder and the others froze when they heard that. Hong Sang-jo had no clue what that screeching was. It was about to make his ears bleed. The Emperor started calming Xia down. So, the little one finally crashed out again. Hong Sang-jo straight up told the Emperor that only Yeonbin was worthy of becoming the mother of the nation. We need to make Yeonbin Empress, and fast. Xia started reacting to the advisor's voice again. For what felt like the millionth time, Hong Sang-jo begged His Majesty to make a decision. The princess reacted to those words every single time. Finally, one of the heroes suggested the elder just leave already. But Hong Sang-jo figured they needed to put a stop to this mess ASAP, so they had to hurry. That's why he explained to His Majesty again that if that title stayed up for grabs, the people would be pissed. The main girl couldn't take it anymore, crawled over to the elder and smacked him in the face with her tiny hand. Everyone was totally caught off guard. Then Xia grabbed Hong Sang-jo by the beard and started yanking him forward. The Emperor scooped up the little girl, but she just wouldn't let go of that annoying old guy's beard. Once the girl finally did, the Emperor apologized to Hong Sang-jo, explaining, "Hey, she's just a kid." But he was saying they needed to keep it down, because the princess might wake up and start crying. Since the kid was in a bad mood today, the Emperor suggested calling off the discussions for now. The elder statesman left the Emperor's office. He was furious after that humiliating experience. Hong Sang-jo figured it was Yeonbin's problem that she couldn't win His Majesty's heart, even after giving birth. The guy was trying to give Yeonbin a chance to take care of the newborn princess and improve her standing. To frame his concubine, he found a gifted kid and just adopted her. If Songbin hadn't popped out a third kid, things would be way easier. Knowing the Emperor, either Yeongbin or Songbin, the mom of the third prince, could become Empress. Thing is, she's from a regular family, so her chances are slim. Yeongbin's the frontrunner by far. Now, Hong Sang-jo has got to chill and see how things shake out, until this princess situation settles down. Here come those old geezers with the bushy beards again, pressuring the Emperor to pick an Empress. Usually, the elders show up when she is still awake, but today they barged in while she was sleeping. All that noise kept the main character from getting any rest, so she smacked the elder in the face. Our girl is so over this whole thing. Noticing the princess was awake, His Majesty broke into a satisfied grin. Xia eyed him suspiciously, trying to figure out what to make of the Emperor's expression. But right now, she was way more worried about one thing. Where the heck was she? The old woman got to her feet, asking if this was really the Emperor's precious little kid. His Majesty confirmed it, plain and simple. In other words, the main character was now face to face with her grandma. The madam scooped the little one right up into her arms. The Emperor was surprised, since the princess never went to strangers. But she went to his mom, no problem. His Majesty's mother called the young princess a smart cookie. Xia didn't know why, but right now, this madame looked kinda ticked off. So, the main character decided she needed to show off how cute she was, and let out a happy little giggle. The princess is so good with other people, so I don't get why she freaked out so bad around young Ben. Xia froze when she heard her mother's voice behind her. That concubine definitely got punished, but it looks like the Emperor's mother summoned her. I told Youngbin to try holding the princess again. Xia wondered if the emperor's mom was dangerous to her too. She pushed herself away from the concubine and started bawling. And then she reached out her little arms to her dad, wanting him to pick her up. His Majesty promised his daughter that no one would dare touch her while she was in the emperor's arms. Then I grilled Youngbin, asking what she did to the kid. But the concubine said it was just a misunderstanding. Since the kid's so freaked out, Youngbin better get out of here. But the woman tried to explain that Kenon was over the moon whenever Madame and the emperor came to visit him. Only then did Xia notice this little psycho standing next to Youngbin. That just made the main character start bawling even harder. The emperor shot his second son a hard look. Kenon flinched the second His Majesty suggested he and his mother leave the room. They didn't put up a fight, but before the door shut, the second prince glared at the princess, and you could see the anger and contempt in his eyes. The emperor can't protect the main character every single time. Then they started up, again, about how the empress's spot in the central palace has been empty for way too long. The main character was already sick of these empress talks, so she decided to leave her dad to it. Suddenly, she saw a group of women, and judging by their silk dresses, the kid figured they were imperial concubines, which meant her sister could be here too. Since she is scared of strangers, the emperor's planning to send her to the maid Yun, but his mom suggested giving the kid to a concubine who already knows how to raise little ones. The concubines started smiling when they saw the little miss crawling toward them. The main character got bummed out, realizing her sister wasn't here. Then she overheard her grandma asking if it was really okay to give the kid to just any random concubine. The adults jumped when the princess suddenly started bawling her eyes out. The concubines were thrown for a loop, because the princess had been smiling the whole time, and now she was acting weird. Xia felt bad for the concubines, but there was nothing she could do, because for her, this was life or death. The emperor knew his daughter wasn't one to cry for no reason. Out of the blue, the kid tells His Majesty he thinks his sister's looking for someone. The emperor was confused and asks Kyungwon what he means. The prince explained his sister crawled up to every concubine, then started checking their faces, like she was searching for somebody. The third prince's mom suggested the little lady probably misses her real mom. The emperor's eyes widened in surprise. The woman decided to risk suggesting to His Majesty that he let Lady Yun raise the little lady. It's likely the princess just can't forget how genuine her mother was, which is why she's drawn to her. The emperor agreed with Songbin and mentioned that she understands the princess very well. The main character immediately knew this woman was a good person. Subin's playing the caring mom act with the princess, but she's just scoring points, you know? Yeonbin took Xia in and totally failed at raising her. To put it nicely, that's because Subin's a straight-up pro. The maids were freaking out, because the little miss took 7 whole steps all by herself. Maid Yun hugged her daughter tight, pouring all her joy and love into that moment. After that talk with the former empress, Xia met up with her sister again. To make it happen, the main character had to crawl around the officials, scaring the crap out of them. They knew if the miss was alone, she would have ripped his beard off ages ago. Then, Xia started smearing her handprints all over the documents, and she made sure to take those first steps, but she'd still tumble, freaking out all the adults around her. The emperor, though, always praised his daughter for taking those first steps. He was genuinely stoked about her progress. As soon as word got out the kid was walking, they decided to keep her as far away from the emperor as possible. Since Xia had to live somewhere else now, her sister got a serious upgrade. She became an official concubine, and suddenly her clothes and her digs were totally different. But our girl was wondering just how long she planned to keep her here. One of the maids noticed the young lady was looking uncomfortable. Yun apologized, admitting she was starting to think she'd never see her precious little girl again. The maid handed the lady a handkerchief, saying the child shouldn't see her cry, or she'd start crying too. The main character took the handkerchief and gently began wiping away her sister's tears. Yun smiled and said that her lady had really grown up a lot. The maid reminded Her Highness that she needed to introduce her to the lady. The concubine told the main character that this was Ami, and she'd been a huge help all this time. From now on, she'll be helping you too. The main character carefully looked at her new acquaintance, and then her eyes narrowed, becoming suspicious. After observing her, Xia concluded that her sister had chosen the right person for the job. Before, the other maids would soak Ami's clothes and tease her. Then Consort Yun called her over and gave her a cookie. Just like the main character expected, her sister's totally awesome. Xia heard they were so close that when her sister was pregnant, she'd secretly visit and bring her cookies. The heroine was happy Ami was working here now, cause her sister's been way happier since. Maybe that Songbin chick was behind it all. Ami asked the lady if she didn't like the food, but the little one gobbled it all down fast, which brought a happy smile to the maid's face. She seems like a good person, but can she live peacefully in this brutal palace? Just like the main character figured, other maids caught them soon after. They were pissed Amai rose so fast just cause she knew Her Highness. These girls started doubting if Ami even knew royal etiquette, which made them think she'd teach the kid all her bad habits. The maids were acting so high and mighty because they figured Ami wouldn't dare snitch to her highness. Shay couldn't wrap her head around bullying someone, especially since she was just focused on eating. They're treating the princess like she's a baby who can't talk. Makes you wonder what the heck goes on when they're alone together. The little one started racking her brain, trying to figure out what to do. A plan quickly formed, and she immediately reached for the bowl of soup. She wanted those sassy broads to get what was coming to them, so she chucked the dish at them. The maid just let out a scream. Min Sang-gung, Lady Yoon's assistant, grilled the maid, demanding to know what the hell was going on. The girl explained that the moment Lady Yoon starts eating, she immediately spills her soup all over someone. Good thing that soup was cold, because if it was hot, Lady Yoon could have gotten hurt too. Since Princess Ami's keeping watch, maybe she's hostile towards anyone who doesn't treat her right. Min Sang-gung went to Lady Yoon's chambers and found 3 court ladies whispering to each other. The girls were bitching about how long they had to stick around the princess, who they never liked in the first place. They only shut their traps when Min Sang-gung appeared right behind them, so they ended up hiring 3 new court ladies named Baek, Volby, and Sukwa. The main character knew this would reach people higher up, but it got sorted out way faster than she thought. Before this, those servants blamed everything on Ami, while they goofed off and did whatever they wanted. Looks like we finally got some decent help this time. And if anyone gives Shia a weird vibe, he'll make sure they're gone, quick. Maid Beck just asked her ladyship what color she's feeling today. The main character's wondering if she really has to wear this skirt instead of the leggings she usually gets. Turns out, Sonbin's coming over today, so Her Highness said to dress the little miss in this. The 3rd prince's mom brought some food with her. She's happy to see the new concubine is looking much better. With a warm smile, Yoon thanked Sonbin. Main girl's wondering why Sonbin's even here, and with a gift no less. The woman remarked that the little miss is doing well too. Shia was totally caught off guard when the 3rd prince's mom wanted to hold her. Lady Yoon just handed over her kid like instantly. Songbin introduced Kyungwon to his baby sister, told him he needed to look after her. The kid's cheeks got a little red, and he told his mom he would. The main character remembered she even got to see her sister thanks to him. He and Kyungwon only have 1 letter different in their names, but the difference between them is huge. Shia decided to give him a pat on the back, like a thanks kind of thing. The ladies immediately started cooing, and the main character didn't even get why they were looking at her like that. Finally, Songbin passed the little one to her son. The concubines noticed their kids were hitting it off, but Shia was actually pissed, because nobody even asked them, and she was totally uneasy about it. Subin suggested that Kyungwon take the madame outside for some fresh air, since they needed to have a word with Consort Yoon. Shia was clueless about what they were talking about, that even the court ladies were asked to leave. The main character was super curious, but Kyungwon explained that they couldn't interrupt their conversation. Lost in thought, the main character realized that even though the prince was still really young, he was already a looker. Still, there was no stopping him, so she really hoped she'd grow up soon. Kyungwon noticed that his sister didn't look like a newborn at all. Apparently, she was seriously bummed out that she couldn't walk yet. But even when she finally gets the hang of it, her frustration isn't gonna vanish. Because the palace is always super dangerous, so the princess has gotta watch her step and her words all the time. Kyungwon heard the crown prince likes her, since their brother's a really good guy. But it's best not to bother him. But that Kyungwon guy? Steer clear. Sounds like Big Bro's had some rough times with Kyungwon, judging by that. After a while, once Shia learned to walk, she finally understood what her brother meant. They found a dead crow in the palace courtyard. Ami immediately hugged the little one, trying to keep her from seeing the corpse, but Shia already caught a glimpse. Then, the court lady told Sukwa to get someone to remove that bird, ASAP. Ami picked up the little lady and anxiously asked if she was too scared. The maid wasn't all that surprised by what she saw, since she used to work in the kitchen, so she knows what dead birds look like. Back in her past life, the main character often saw pigeons getting hit by cars or smashing into windows, so Shia wasn't really scared. But still, it was a pretty nasty sight. How could a bird even crash into something in the palace and die? Next thing they knew, they saw a dead rat. The court ladies recoiled in horror and immediately rushed off to get someone to remove the poor thing. Ami suggested they go somewhere else, my lady. It feels like just the other day, everyone was freaking out. But they're already getting used to this stuff, because it's happening so often. People are saying a human's behind all these killings, so the only person the main character could think of was Kinon. But she kept pushing those thoughts away, because she was sure the prince wouldn't do something like that out in the open. Out of nowhere, someone showed up in front of Shia, surprised to see her walking around by herself already. The main character was stoked to see the crown prince and Kyungwon together. The air was pumped to hear that their Shay was walking now. He reached out his hand, asking if the little one would come to him too. Of course, the main character couldn't refuse her savior's request, so she took a running leap right into his arms. The crown prince told Kyungwon he used to be that small too, which kinda surprised the third prince. The heir's face lit up with a happy smile the second he saw his sister wearing the clothes he'd given her. Everything clicked into place, because lately the main character had been rocking some seriously fancy outfits. The crown prince still cares about her a ton. Her older brother said that he and Kyungwon were chucking sticks into a container and invited her to join their game. The main character figured it sounded pretty fun, but then her eyes flicked to the third prince, and she saw the look on his face. Shia probably stole time he should have been spending with the crown prince, so Kyungwon was pissed. The main character got it. She needed to back off. Shia started squirming in her brother's arms, and he sadly asked if he couldn't hold her a little longer. In her head, the main character begged the heir to look back and see his brother's shining eyes. The main character kept fussing, and finally, the crown prince put her down. Showtime! Shia bolted from her spot like a rocket. The court ladies immediately took off after her, because she definitely shouldn't be wandering around alone. The crown prince let out a relieved sigh, happy to see Shia growing up healthy. Then, he knelt down and suggested to Kyungwon that they continue their game. So, Ami ended up catching the main character. The kid was seriously bummed. She really wanted to ditch everyone and just be alone. I get that they're watching over her, but she hates having someone around her 24/7. Shia noticed it was her first time in this place, and apparently, there's always been this awesome pond. She reached out her hand, and Ami figured the princess wanted to check out the pond. The other servants were totally exhausted by the kid's stamina. Ami gave a nervous smile and decided to take the lady over there herself. As soon as they got closer, the main character was blown away by how beautiful it was. Then, out of nowhere, she saw Kenan near the place. She hadn't seen him in forever, and had no idea they'd run into each other here. Suddenly, the kid heard a cat meowing. The third prince snatched up the pet and chucked it right into the water. Ami and the main girl were horrified by the psycho's cruelty. Shia was so freaked out, she even got the hiccups. The third prince immediately spun around and demanded to know who was there, as soon as he heard a noise behind him. But there was nobody there. Kenan grabbed a fallen branch and said coldly that he definitely heard someone's voice. As soon as the second prince started heading their way, the main character began frantically thinking about what to do. If Kenan finds out they're here, she doesn't even want to imagine what he'll do to her. She could try yelling for help, but there's nobody around, so it'll just make things worse. Shia froze, hearing the familiar voice calling out to Kyungwon. It was Kyungwon, and the second prince figured something must be up for his little brother to call for him. Kyungwon asked the prince what he was doing out here all by himself. The second prince shot back, asking him what business it was of his. Kyungwon suggested seeing the crown prince, who had a spare moment, but immediately got smacked on the arm with a branch. The second prince told his brother coldly not to be so arrogant. Kyungwon wanted to talk to his brother, but Kyungwon yelled that he wasn't his brother at all. He hangs around the crown prince because he thinks he can get something out of him. Kyungwon had finally found a good toy, but the third prince ruined the whole mood. Kyungwon sighed in relief as soon as his older brother left. First thing he did, he fished a cat out of the pond. He promised her she wouldn't get hurt again. Then the second prince walked over to the tree, asking his sister and her maid if they were okay. So Kyungwon knew they were here. The second prince called Joseon over to him. The attendant took the cat from the prince, lips pursed. Kyungwon told him to chill, said this wasn't the first time, and to not tell mom anything. The little girl reached out a hand towards the second prince. Kyungwon took down some psycho, protected his sister, and even saved a cat, even though he was still just a kid. The prince asked if she was actually worried about him. He told his sister he was fine, and hadn't let Kyonan land a solid hit. Basically, that's what he was going for. The main girl was totally lost. How could he talk about stuff like that so casually? Hyunwon told his sister, in a serious tone, to stay away from deserted areas from now on. On top of that, Kyonan hangs out around here a lot, so the princess should probably avoid this place if she can. Now Shia got it. That's why Sanbin wanted to mess with Youngbin. The woman obviously knew where her kid was, but Kyunwon really wanted to play with the crown prince, but he had to come here because he was worried about her. The second prince smiled and said she had that grown-up look on her face again. If she's this worried already, what's gonna happen later? Kyunwon suddenly wanted to touch his sister, and even she didn't know what was up with him. Little did they know, the crown prince had been lurking behind that tree the whole time. A few days later, Kyungwon was bugging the little one, asking when she'd finally learn to talk. The main girl was totally pissed by the question. He'd been asking the same thing for days. His Highness, the first prince, was itching to hear his sister say anything, so Kyungwon begged her to call him brother. Truth was, Shia didn't want to talk because of her terrible pronunciation, so she just started slapping him. The crown prince figured Shia was punishing her brother for trying to force her to do stuff. The third prince chimed in. explaining their sister was a real hothead and always threw punches when you said something to her. But with the first prince, she acted completely different. Kyungwon sulked, not getting why his sister was so mean only to him. The main character stuck her tongue out at him, signaling he needed to step up his game. After the whole pawn thing, Kyungwon started teasing her, even calling her ugly once. Shia flipped out and totally went off on him for saying that. But Kyungwon's a good dude. He just says the dumbest stuff sometimes, and then she loses it. Suddenly, Shia remembered that in this time period, people would purposely call a kid ugly. Now, the main character realized she was way too rough with her brother when she was bonking him on the head. The second prince flinched, the second the little kid touched his head. He got this weird feeling that something was up, but the main character thought his reaction was adorable. Kyungwon started frowning, so Shia decided to smooth out his eyebrows. Next thing you know, they both ate it on the floor, and the crown prince, smiling, just said they looked happy together. Kyungwon told his brother to stop watching and help get his sister off him, cause Shia was getting heavy. The main character started whining again, like, how could she be heavy when she just learned to walk? But the heir snatched the kid up and told Kyungwon to get some practice in if his sister was too heavy for him. There she is so gorgeous. So the prince figured that was why Kyungwon was so ticked off. But he was really hoping the princess would start talking ASAP, because the heir had a lot he wanted to hear from her. Shia thought she could keep pretending she couldn't talk for a little while, but it looked like she couldn't keep it up anymore. So, in a childish voice, she blurted out that she already ate. Either way, people might think something's wrong with her, but Shia wanted to start talking when her pronunciation got better. The next day, the main character went out for a stroll. Ever since that incident at the pond, Shia only goes where there are a lot of people, and she always takes Ami with her. The emperor could pop up near this building any second, so even if Shia bumped into Kyungwon, he wouldn't mess with her. Now the pond was a different story, nobody around for miles. Out of nowhere, someone asks Shia what she's doing here. Our girl was just thinking about His Majesty, and bam! There he is, right in front of her. The little one's totally lost. She hasn't seen her real dad in forever. The emperor's face fell, and he sadly asks how a kid can treat her father like that. First things first, gotta build bridges, so our girl jumps right into His Majesty's arms. The emperor smiles, saying it's been a long time since she hugged him. Our girl notices that His Majesty looks way more worn out than before. Those old geezers must be giving him a hard time, day in, day out. Shia pets her dad, and the dude instantly perks up, realizing she's trying to comfort him. Even though she's just a kid, she already knows how to respect her parents. The main character flinched the second the emperor asked Yongbin what brought her here. The concubine apologized and told His Majesty that Kyungwon missed him a lot, and she just couldn't stop him. The second prince backed up his mother's story. Kyungwon's act was amazing, because anyone would think he was such a good and polite kid. Yongbin suggested going inside the palace, and she'd see about getting the princess some snacks. The main character had absolutely no idea what she was talking about right now. The little one definitely didn't want that, so she clung even tighter to the emperor. His Majesty didn't get why she was suddenly so scared again. He apologized to Yongbin and explained he was unfortunately busy today, so he wouldn't be able to come. The concubine knew the king was busy with state affairs, but she wanted him to relax. Yongbin offered to hold the princess, but the emperor said he needed to calm Shia down, so she shouldn't worry about anything else. His Majesty turned around, and Shia thought she heard teeth grinding. Just like the little kid figured, Yongbin and Kyunan were glaring at her. Tears welled up in the princess's eyes again, and the emperor was confused about what was wrong with her now. But Yongbin's glare from under her brow sent chills down her spine. The maids told concubine Yoon that Yongbin was treating them really harshly, even though they hadn't been rude to her. The girl's shins were covered in scrapes and bruises. Looks like it's a warning, because Yoon's got His Majesty's favor. Shia figured Yongbin was up to something, but never thought she'd be taking her anger out on the maids. Ami told her ladyship it wasn't that bad, so she shouldn't worry so much. Yongbin's just trying to flex her power and show she can stick her nose in state affairs. But Yoon started freaking out that Yongbin might abuse the maids even more because of her. One of the girls suggested Her Highness try to win over His Majesty's heart, so he'd only visit her. But Yoon knew damn well nothing would change even if she did get the emperor's favor. Lately, the main character's been feeling down because of this gloomy atmosphere. If she were really a kid, she would have cheered herself up a long time ago. Shia heard from the maids that Chuyongdan Palace has a bad rep, but it never reached the emperor's ears. So the main character needs to somehow tell her dad about it. Kyungwon's hands are tied too. If he says the wrong thing, he's gonna catch major heat. Plus, it'd be sus if Shia suddenly started talking after being mute for 2 years. No matter how hard the main character racked her brain, she just couldn't figure it out. The ladies-in-waiting noticed the young lady was feeling down, so they suggested a walk outside. Shia, of course, jumped at the chance, and just when she thought her mood was about to finally turn around, The main character ran smack into a freaking psycho. Kyungwon smirked and asked if it was really his sister, saying she hadn't played with her big brother in ages. The main character hid behind one of the ladies-in-waiting's skirts. The maid tried to explain that the young lady was too little for games, but the dude got all bent out of shape about it. He shoved her hard, yelling that she had the nerve to block his way. Then Kyonan grabbed the princess roughly, saying he just wanted to teach her a lesson, and dragged her along. The prince's attendant stepped forward, but Kyonan ordered him to stay out of it and stop the princess's servants. The girls were horrified, but there was nothing they could do. The attendant explained that screaming would only make their master angrier. However, one of the ladies-in-waiting wasn't giving up and decided to take matters into her own hands. She followed the second prince, who was still dragging the princess behind him. The main character was relieved to see at least one servant was following, but she had no idea where Kyonan was taking her. Soon they arrived at that pond they visited last time. All sorts of terrifying possibilities immediately flashed through the girl's mind. She dropped to her knees in front of him, begging him not to do it. But Kyonan just called the maid an idiot and asked how she dared disobey him. It was only then the main character realized this was the same girl Kyonan had grabbed by the hair when she tried to stop him. This maid had tried to help her, even knowing she'd catch the second prince's wrath. Kyonan shoved Shia away roughly. First things first, he decided to start with disciplining the maid. The girl scrambled back, terrified of what her master might do to her. Kyonan raised his hand and yelled at the idiot, saying she should finally remember who her master was. The maid squeezed her eyes shut, bracing for the blow. The main character couldn't just stand by and do nothing. That's why she took off and shoved the second prince in the back with all her might, totally catching him off guard. The kid instantly lost his balance, and the next thing he knew, he was in the water. Shay wanted to push the prince away because she thought he was going to hit the servant, but she never thought she could actually knock him into the water. Guess our girl's stronger than she thought. The prince resurfaced, and the servant immediately asked His Highness, all freaked out, if he was okay. Kyonan started calling them both idiots and yelling that he wouldn't let this slide. The heroine found his furious eyes kind of funny, but she had to act like she didn't understand anything. So Shay started sobbing loudly, while the court lady called for help. But nobody came, so the servant decided to take a desperate chance. Eyes squeezed shut, she dove into the water to save His Majesty's second son. Truth is, this lady-in-waiting couldn't swim a lick, and now both of them needed saving. She only did it so she wouldn't get reamed out for just standing there watching. The second prince's bodyguard came running at the sound of the shouting. Both of our heroes washed up on the bank. The main girl's other maids finally showed up, so she bolted right over to them. The lady-in-waiting hugged her mistress, figuring she was totally freaked after seeing all that. Kenan got to his feet and demanded to know from the idiot how she dared chuck him in the pond. But the main girl really didn't mean to, so now she was totally clueless about what to do. And just then, a rescue appeared all on its own. The maid could finally catch her breath after all that running. The crown prince wanted to know what happened, why Kyonan was soaked, and why Shay was crying. The main character wondered how her brother always managed to show up at the perfect time. She immediately ran over to her brother. The crown prince hugged Shay, figuring she must be really freaked out. So all that chaos finally ended once the first prince showed up. Even though Kinan's got a nasty attitude, he's not dumb enough to openly do evil in front of the crown prince. But revenge was coming, and it was gonna be swift. Since Kyonan can't openly hurt the princess, he's taking out his anger on the animals. Before, he made it look like accidents, but now the animals' bodies are showing more and more brutal injuries. Shia was starting to sweat it, wondering if the maid would be all right. She probably really pissed off Kyonan by sticking up for her. The main character wondered if she could even cry and whine to the emperor and crown prince later, because she wasn't sure the emperor would even take her side. No matter how bad the prince is, he might be more important to the emperor than the princess. The maid suggested the little lady take a walk, but Shia couldn't, because she was scared of running into Kyonan. Then the court lady suggested stepping away for a bit and grabbing a drink, and Shia agreed since Kyonan was elsewhere. On the way to a safe stroll, the main character stumbled upon another conversation between the emperor and the elder. Hong Sangjo was still pushing to find the empress, and the main character was actually surprised by his persistence. Best not to get caught by them right now. But one guy did spot her, though. She gestured for him to play it cool, like she wasn't there. The dude with him instantly got this grin, like he knew exactly what the princess was up to. But he asked His Majesty if he saw someone hiding behind the tree. The guy explained it was the lady, but the emperor was all, "Why's she hiding then?" The servant guessed maybe the princess was planning some kind of surprise for him. Our girl started freaking out when the emperor started heading her way. You could see the anticipation burning in his eyes. Shia was scrambling, thinking, what can I even do for him? We barely know each other. Then one idea hit her, and she was out of options. She jumped out from behind the tree so fast, she totally spooked the Emperor. A huge, happy grin spread across the main character's face. The Emperor started smiling all happy too. He picked up the little one, called her a smart cookie, and said she was definitely his daughter. But the real reason the main character was so smart was because she was already living her second life. The Emperor told the elders to scram, because they were giving him a headache again, and he wanted to hang with his daughter. But Hong Sung-jo reminded the Emperor about the coup he'd told him about, helping him out. His Majesty himself said he'd never forget that help, so now he can pull crap like this. Thing is, Shinho was considered a loyal subject too, right before the coup, so the Emperor just learned a big lesson. But the main character had no clue about all this secret dude talk. One thing was clear, that official figured out about the coup, so now he thinks the Emperor owes him big time. Looks like he's not happy with His Majesty's moves, because he's rocking a serious frown. If historical dramas are anything to go by, this old dude might have framed someone else, but Shia couldn't know for sure. The main character spaced out for a sec, wondering if the Emperor even knew what went down at the pond. Looking at his daughter, the Emperor figured she was wiped after traveling all this way. Truth is, Shia was really hoping they'd stumble across a dead animal, so the Emperor would finally get how dangerous Kyonan is. But out of nowhere, they overheard the princes arguing. Kyeonwon was insisting the second prince did it, but Kyonan was losing it, saying it was a total lie. The third prince chimed in, saying there was definitely something at his feet, but Kyonan shot back that he had no clue what it was. The main girl was totally confused why the second and third princes were arguing right in front of her place. The guys shut up quick when the Emperor asked them in a real stern voice what the hell they were doing. His Majesty ordered them to explain everything to him right then and there. Kyungwon said that animal corpses were being found all the time around the place where Consort Yoon was living now. The Emperor looked at his son like, huh? So the third prince figured he should check it out. And while he was looking around, he spotted Kyungwon near the palace. And then he saw an animal carcass lying right at his brother's feet. Consort Yoon backed up the story, according to the Emperor. So His Majesty got real serious and asked the second prince what he was doing there. Kyungwon just calmly said he'd come by because he wanted to see his one and only sister. Since she's not exactly a people person, the prince just wanted to watch her from a distance. Kyonan straight up lying through his teeth right now, because there's no proof against him. Everyone pretty much knows who did it, but sadly, surveillance cameras haven't been invented yet in this world. Kyungwon's keeping quiet, because he knows there's no point in saying anything. I mean, the Emperor has no clue what Kyonan's really like. The Emperor ripped into Kyungwon for accusing someone without solid evidence, especially his older brother. The third prince apologized. Kyonan flashed this smug grin. Kyungwon flinched when he saw that. The Emperor glared at his son and asked sharply if he had anything to say now. The main character started fidgeting with her hands. The Emperor had no clue what was up with her. She's probably acting like this because he chewed out her older brother. Glancing at the maid, Bayek, the main character noticed she looked different than usual. She whispered to calm her mistress, explaining that Master Kyonan would be somewhere else today, and they just needed to avoid him. Maybe Kyonwon arranged for Bayek to take her for a walk, so he could go check on the animal himself. Shia wondered, did he really not want her to see the corpse? So, now the main character has to take his side. Kyunwon apologized to His Majesty for causing him distress because of his carelessness. The Emperor understood his concern for his sister, but everything needs moderation, so he asked his son to apologize to his brother. Kyungwon sincerely apologized for the trouble his misunderstanding caused the second prince. Kyungwon knew his younger brother could be a screw-up sometimes, so he promised to be more careful going forward. But the Emperor cut him off, saying he had no right to criticize his younger brother. He's not supposed to just waltz in here, so those actions are exactly why Kyungwon suspected him. The Emperor reminded Kyungwon to act like a prince should. Both of His Majesty's sons need to go to their rooms and think about what they've done. Neither of the princes put up a fight, arms crossed. Yongbin asked, annoyed, if she was trying to get the Emperor's attention by having him tied up in Shia. Yun replied that her lady just happened to bump into His Majesty. And then she apologized to the imperial concubine. Aunt Yongbin's been coming around a lot lately, just looking for a fight. Since the concubine can't yell at the princess, she's decided to mess with her mom instead. Yongbin ordered Yoon to take good care of the princess, so this kind of drama doesn't happen again. It's because they don't have an empress that discipline and order are falling apart. Later, concubine Yoon met with Songbin, who found out that Yongbin had been visiting her repeatedly. The main girl was happy that her sister and Songbin were getting closer. Yoon asked where Kyungwon was, and Songbin said that he hadn't left his room since that day. He said he can't disobey His Majesty's orders, and besides, he doesn't want to face that guy. Shia decided to leave the room since there's nothing for her here anyway. She quickly slipped out the exit. The maid jumped up, promising their highnesses she'd bring the little lady back right away. But Sukwon said the young lady could do whatever she wanted. Even though Kyungwon was punished unfairly, he still obediently carries out the emperor's orders. The main character really wanted to thank him when she saw him. Suddenly, Shia heard a familiar voice. He was reciting Confucius, saying you can't hurt anyone because it's the start of something unavoidable. The names of parents will be passed down to future generations. That's how kids show respect. The door burst open, and the princess appeared in the doorway. She smiled happily because she'd finally managed to find the third prince. Kyungwon realized the princess had come with her mom. The main girl just shoved a treat right into his mouth. She barely saw her brother, and already she's stuffing his face. Chewing on the sweet, the prince explained he didn't do it because of her, but because some messed up stuff is going down in the palace. In response, the main girl smacked him on the head. Even though mom yelled at him, it's not like he did anything wrong. Now it was obvious that Kyungwon got chewed out, and Sungbin didn't want the main girl or her sister to find out. Judging by how Sungbin's acting quiet, looks like she's trying not to piss off the emperor any more than necessary. Since Kyungwon hurt her, the third prince couldn't pretend he didn't know anything, so he decided to take action. The main girl hugged her brother, and tears started welling up in his eyes. He hugged his sister tighter. No matter how old Kyungwon gets, he's still just an 8-year-old kid at heart. Even if he didn't do anything wrong, Dad got mad at Kyungwon. And for a little kid, that's terrifying. Shia couldn't even imagine how tough things were for the third prince because of Kyungwon. Kyungwon's eyes went wide as soon as the little girl said everything was okay. He pulled back real quick and gave her a confused look. The third prince was totally stunned that the princess could talk. The main character just laughed and said it was a secret. The concubine started heading into the room, where Kyungwon was hanging out with the princess. Walking in, Songbin's first thought was about her son, who was playing around with the little lady. Kyungwon froze, his little cheeks turning red the second he saw his mom at the doorway. The royal concubine laughed happily at the adorable sight. After that, Songbin started taking even better care of the princess and her mother. Looks like his sister sensed something and decided it was best to befriend Songbin. No matter what Yongbin said or did, the emperor still visited them, and each time he was even more affectionate than usual. Every time, the second son's mother threatened Yoon, saying they'd see how long she could keep her head held high. Of course, Yongbin reacted even worse, but there's nothing you can do about it. But at least she is happy that Kyungwon's still being punished, so they definitely won't run into each other. The maid brought her mistress a traditional Korean sweet rice drink and offered her some, but the court lady asked her to bring some snacks too. It'd be sweet if they could sneak a bite too, you know? The girls promised the princess they'd be back quick with something tasty, and they bolted for the snacks. That left just one lady in waiting with the princess. She handed the princess a plate with a drink, but it was kinda hard for her to lift. So naturally, she ended up dropping the whole damn thing. Shia shot a look at the maid like, seriously? You're supposed to feed me, not give a baby a ceramic plate. The lady in waiting immediately started apologizing and freaking out. She said she'd run and grab cleaning supplies and bring a fresh drink, ASAP. This whole mess happened because the main character doesn't officially have another nanny, and Amy's off today. Looking down at her hands, Shia suddenly felt like she needed a bath. Suddenly, she heard this weird noise. The princess freaked when a familiar face popped up next to her, and he snarked, "Why are you out here all alone?" The main character jumped, then froze, paralyzed with fear. She had no clue what Kainan was doing there. The prince casually asked why she looked like she'd seen some kind of animal instead of her own brother. Because of her dumb stunt, he got punished. But the princess was born to a commoner, so what else would you expect? Today, the second prince brought his sister a generous gift, so now she owes him big time. Shia started hiccuping the second a mangled bird corpse flew past. That psycho just did that. Guess Kayanan's so sure of himself, he thinks he can get away with anything, nobody'll notice. For the second prince, it was an amazing sight, because usually she is fearless, but now she's actually scared. He was asking if she really thought she was on the same level as him. After all, she's about to end up just like that bird. And then the second prince just took off, reaching out for the princess. But the main character snatched an empty plate and smacked Kyunan over the head with everything she had. The second prince grabbed his forehead, calling his sister an idiot right away. Now the main character's got the perfect chance to use her secret weapon and get rid of this psycho. Shia screamed at the top of her lungs. The maids heard that noise right away and rushed to her side. The second prince cursed under his breath and hurried away before anyone saw him. When the court ladies got back to the princess, they freaked out seeing a bloodied bird next to her, and the princess herself was covered in blood. The emperor couldn't figure out who dared to harm the princess right inside the palace. Kneeling, Consort Yun began begging His Majesty to find whoever dared threaten the princess. The emperor's jaw clenched in fury. He vowed to conduct a thorough investigation and catch the culprit. The palace guard would be beefed up too, so the emperor told Yun not to worry and to go rest with the princess. Because of the investigation into this incident, it was a tough time for all the palace servants. But, unfortunately, nobody ever found out that Kyonan was the one responsible. Since Kyonan's still a kid, they mistook his voice for a woman's, so they only suspected the court ladies. A bunch of innocent servants got caught in the crossfire during the investigation. My sister was so freaked out by what happened. She had to beg His Majesty to stop the search. What an awful incident, and it sucks that they never found the culprit. Sanbin reminded the concubine now she had the emperor's favor. He even bumped Yoon up a rank, which made Yongbin so furious. Even the servants were scared to go near her room. Just then, the emperor showed up and asked what they were all so happy about. And so, that little bit of happiness lasted a while longer. But the problem is, the empress's seat is still empty, which means there's major stress about it in the main palace. The officials keep using the missing empress as an excuse every time something goes wrong. Shia couldn't even imagine what would happen to Kenan if she blabbed that he was the one killing those animals. But the emperor and everyone else has to know what the second prince is up to. Now she just needs to figure out how to make that happen. The main character couldn't get why the emperor just couldn't see what Kenan really was. His Majesty told his daughter it was about time she learned to talk. He suggested the princess start by trying to call him father. Consort Yoon told the emperor that they'd gone to the doctor, and he said there were no problems, nothing to worry about. If that's the case, then he's happy. But he still wants to hear his little girl call him father. Shia started to squirm, which meant she wanted to leave. Since Yoon decided to grace him with her presence, the emperor suggested they take a walk together. There was no way Consort Yoon could turn down an offer like that. Not long after, our main character got her chance to rat out Kyonan's atrocities. The emperor and Consort Yoon took a stroll, holding the princess's hands. The weather's great, so our girl wanted to check out a spot she hadn't seen yet. If she's with the emperor, there's nowhere she can't go, right? But Shay suddenly remembered that Kyungwon and Kyonan's punishments had just been lifted. That's when the little one got a bright idea. Yongbin jumped when she saw the emperor and Yoon with the princess. Spotting the consort, His Majesty asked what she was doing there, and she said she was just taking a walk. She never expected to run into the ruler here. Usually, Yongbin's stoked to see His Majesty, but she looks kinda worried today for some reason, which means she's hiding something. Maybe something to do with what Kyonan's up to right now. Yongbin told the emperor it was a perfect day to take a stroll. Out of nowhere, the main girl bolts and takes off running towards the pond. Yongbin immediately told the emperor she had something important to tell him. If the second prince hangs out by the pond a lot, he's probably there now. Kyonan turned around when he heard a noise behind him. Seeing the princess, he immediately got excited because the idiot walked right into his trap. The prince angrily asked if she even understood what happened to him because of her that day. The main character was stoked to see Kyonan's face, all swollen up after she smacked him with that ceramic plate. Kyonan was still fuming about that whole thing, so the fact that this idiot showed up now is perfect timing. He's gonna teach her a lesson this time for sure. The main character was betting they were looking for her. She spotted a familiar old geezer hiding in the bushes. The other dude suddenly grabbed the princess by the collar and barked at her, asking how she dared to ignore him like that. Out of nowhere, Shia asked if he seriously thought he'd ever amount to anything. Kyonan jumped. It was the first time he'd ever heard his sister's voice. The main character pointed out that his mom couldn't even become empress, which meant he definitely wasn't going to make it either. He always said she was born from a commoner, but the truth is they were both born to a concubine. So basically, Kenan's just some nobody's kid too. Even if everyone finds out he's torturing animals, the prince will probably just get a slap on the wrist. That's why Shay has to provoke him. She's got no other choice. Kenan grabs the heroine by her collar, rough as hell, and the next thing she knows, she's flying into the pond. Shay starts sinking fast. She felt the pain, even though she didn't think it would be this bad. Gotta stay calm and try to swim up, because they're far from everyone else, and it'll take forever for someone to rescue her. But her wet clothes are weighing her down, and now she can't swim to the surface anymore. Shay starts fading out, mentally begging someone to save her. Someone grabbed her hand. A few moments later, the main character found herself on the shore. First thing Shia saw was Kyungwon's face, all red and teary. She touched her older brother, silently begging him to stop crying, because it hurt to see him like that. Shia still had no idea who saved her. Turns out it was the crown prince, who, relieved, asked if she even knew how worried he was. Soon, the adults came rushing towards the kids. The crown prince immediately asked His Majesty to call a doctor, like now. Something definitely went wrong for Kyungwon. The main character's body felt heavy. Pulling off her plan took way more energy than she thought. Looks like all her efforts weren't for nothing after all. Shia reached out to His Majesty and quietly called him father. And then the little one passed out. Never even seeing the emperor's shocked face, Yongbin yelled that they couldn't just let this slide. Her son was falsely accused last time, and it's happening again. Shia woke up from all the shouting and felt like her head was splitting open. Sonbin reminded His Majesty that Kyungwon always looked after the princess and couldn't have done anything in such a terrible situation. Yeonbin got even angrier because now Kyungwon was being blatantly accused of intentionally harming the young lady. All this arguing was already giving the emperor a headache. Sounds like they haven't figured out that Kyungwon tossed her in the water. Seeing that the little lady was awake, they immediately reported it to His Majesty, and the emperor perked right up. He scooped his daughter up and asked, all worried, if she was okay. But our girl was clearly not okay. She had to live through that nightmare, and nobody even noticed, which is totally messed up on the adult's part. Shia burst into tears, pointed right at Kyonan, and called him a bad guy. The emperor totally brushed that off, just stoked that his only daughter was starting to talk. So she really did call him Papa last time. Our girl didn't think he'd be that into it. Kyunwon spoke up, telling His Majesty that he'd actually heard Shia talking before. Our girl froze, wondering what her brother was about to say next. Kyonan revealed that since he was annoyed Shia was being informal with him, he'd been teaching her the word brother. But since that word was a mouthful for her, she kept her trap shut. Now the emperor's starting to think Kyonan chucked his little sister in the pond on purpose, because she called him brother. The second prince immediately chimed in, saying that's totally wrong. She definitely insulted him and Yongbin. That's why he lost it. The emperor couldn't believe his own kid would throw his baby sister in the pond just because she hurt his feelings. Kyonan kept denying it, so His Majesty asked if he'd stand by his words. After he said yes, a servant walked into the room. The emperor ordered him to repeat what he'd already told him. The old guy explained that Kyonan was right next to the young lady right before she fell into the pond. Since it was just the two of them, he figured he should keep an eye on things. But then Kyonan said something to her. He grabbed him by the collar, and the old man got so scared, he went to get His Majesty right away. The dude fell to his knees, saying he never thought anything bad could happen so fast. The emperor coldly asked his son if he was still going to deny it. Kyonan tried to convince the emperor that she definitely meant him, and no one's allowed to insult a prince. How could some girl born to a court lady talk trash to him? The emperor roared, demanding to know who told him that. He ordered Yongbin to answer immediately, instead of her son. The woman said in a shaky voice that the prince probably just overheard the court ladies gossiping. The emperor thought Yongbin was raising Kyonan right, but judging by today, looks like that's not the case. The concubine had seriously disappointed His Majesty. After that whole thing, Sonbin finally snagged the empress seat. From now on, Shia needs to call her brother Yeonwon, not Kyungwon. Since Sonbin's the empress now, Kyungwon will be addressed as Grand Master. Either way, the third prince was feeling a whole lot lighter. He asked his sister if she finally understood the danger she was in that day. None of the servants could find her. It's a good thing he assigned someone to her, or she'd have been in real trouble. Shia gets it now. She was wondering how those two even found her. It's kinda nice to know someone's got your back, though. After Sonbin took the throne, the palace was buzzing for a while. Looks like the third prince's mom decided to jump on the opportunity. They started kicking out a bunch of maids, and one day, the main girl spotted a familiar face. It was the same maid who'd saved her bacon, like, twice. The main character booked it straight to her savior. She confidently told those court ladies that the girl wasn't bad news, and had saved her life a couple times. The maid couldn't believe her mistress actually remembered her, but Shia could never forget her kindness. Still, she never imagined her actions would have consequences like this. Subin found out that Gyeonon had been threatening the little miss before, but Yoon hadn't said a word. Shia's mom revealed she had a younger sister living outside the palace, and Gyeonon was threatening her. Yoon was just worried about her sister, so she couldn't tell Her Majesty anything. So, the main character remembers reading something with a similar plot somewhere. In the story, a court lady was just a side character, and all she wanted was revenge on the prince who killed her sister. Shia really dug that book, but she couldn't remember the court lady's name. The empress asks the maid her name, and the girl replies, Joga. The main character freezes instantly, because that's the name she was trying to remember. She couldn't figure out why her name would be the same. Shia couldn't wrap her head around it, so she figured it had to be a coincidence. Though, the more she thinks about it, the more the people here remind her of characters from that book. But no way could a person actually end up inside a novel, right? It was a court romance, and the main guy was a dude named Li Hua, whose life and path to the throne was the whole story. Chogai stood out from the crowd, sharpening her knife, thirsty for revenge for her little sister. After gathering all the evidence she needed, she lured the prince to her sister's grave and stuck a knife right in his back. It was the perfect example of righteous vengeance and the high point of the whole story. And it was all thanks to that the main character was able to snag the title of Crown Prince. Our girl had been a fan of this story since it first came out, and she was dying to see that scene in the drama. The girl was rushing home to finish reading the script she'd gotten as a gift, when bam, she got hit by a car running into the street. Out of nowhere, the crown prince asked Xia why she was making such a serious face. Yangwon asked, all annoyed, how she could act so carelessly in front of the crown prince. But the heir told Xia not to get so worked up. Even if he says stuff like that, the great Prince Yangwon actually cares about her. The main character had definitely heard someone use that form of address before, so she straight up asked the third prince what his name was. She already found out that Prince Yangwon had another name. Someone must have spilled the beans to her. The main character's eyes went wide as soon as she learned her brother's real name was Li Hua. The crown prince chuckled softly and said his brother's name was beautiful. And the crown prince himself is called Li He. In other words, the main character of the story is standing right in front of Xia, which is just mind-blowing. So it's not reincarnation, it's more like she got sucked into the book. Even if Xia ended up in someone else's body, she already died in her past life and has zero chance of going back. A few years passed, and now the great Prince Yangwon turned 12. The crown prince was already 20 years old, you know. One scorcher of a day, they were chilling in the gazebo, and Shay was telling them a scary story. She sold it so well, the third prince totally bought what she was saying. Li Hua even squealed. He was so freaked out. He couldn't believe his little sister wasn't scared. Considering she's only 6 right now, the third prince went red as a beet the second the main character told him he just didn't have any guts. It was blazing hot out, but appearances matter. So Shay couldn't even roll up her sleeves on her dress. Li Hua couldn't wrap his head around how she could act like that in front of the crown prince. The crown prince picked up the little one and chuckled, saying it was a younger sibling's perk. It had been 4 years since our girl realized she was stuck in a book, and she was completely used to the life now. The third prince was all like, yo, crown prince, can't you get enough of Xia lately or what? Li He was like, hey, once she gets a little older, we won't be able to hang out like this, you know? If we're going by the original story, then Grand Prince Li Hua is supposed to become the crown prince. But right now, some other dudes got the title, so the main character's totally lost on what's going on. Xia decided to run through the original storyline one more time. For some reason, she even vaguely remembers the title Grand Prince Yangwon and the villain prince, Kunan, who couldn't stand his little bro. The reason Grand Prince Yangwon was able to become the heir was because the previous crown prince bit the dust. And the one who did Li He dirty like that was Yongbin. But even after that, she didn't get the queen's spot. It was Songbin, who Yongbin also poisoned. But all her efforts were worthless, because the king picked another concubine to be empress. So in the end, Yongbin just did everyone else a favor. In the novel, Kainan and his mom were like the final bosses. But here they're just pathetic scraps of a kite. And she is the one who brought them down. She's already changed so much of the story. Yongbin's got a lifetime ban from leaving, and she's locked up with Prince Kunan. The chief advisor resigned, blaming himself for raising a bad woman. Thanks to all that, the country had a few years of peace. Except the crown princess, who just got married, died a few years later. Ever since Li He clammed up, everyone's been worried. But then he started sneaking out of the palace. The third prince started teaching his sister how to write and read Chinese characters. But Xia didn't want to learn. Honestly, studying ain't that bad. She just doesn't know how hard she needs to grind. A servant approached the crown prince and told him it was time to head out. Li He put his sister down and explained that he had to go do some work. The third prince found it hilarious that Xia was still acting all sweet in front of the crown prince. The main character blurted out that they were the same then and hurried to run away. Yongbin followed her and asked, annoyed, if she couldn't show a little decency. They managed to ditch the servants as a result. The main character found out her brother's been hitting the books hard lately. Li Hua was clueless where those rumors came from, and the little one said there were no secrets in the palace. Xia guessed that it was all because of Her Majesty. The prince backed her up, because when he said he wanted to get into martial arts, Mom wasn't thrilled. Looks like the Empress is worried that Prince Yongwon's gonna be seen as a threat to the Crown Prince's position. Also, our girl found out they're gonna pick the Crown Princess real soon. To keep his mom from freaking out, the third prince decided to lay low and hit the books for now. Time went by, and our main character started getting seriously bored. When the lady was feeling down, Chogai suggested they play some kind of game. Being born into the royal family is fun, but compared to her past life, there ain't much to do around here. Xia decided to bring her dad and brother some sweets, because they'd definitely be stoked. Our main girl had an idea, and she was gonna make it happen. So, she told her maid to head to the confectionery, the place that whips up all kinds of desserts, including sweets and cold treats. And that's how Xia started making her special dessert. After a while, her delicate pudding was finally ready. She screwed it up a bunch of times with the heat, but she finally nailed it the way she wanted. Consort Yun tasted it and admitted she never would have thought those ingredients could taste so good together. Xia said she lost count of how many times she tried to make it that soft. And once she did, she ran straight to her mom. She froze when she saw the change in her mother's face. The woman covered her mouth, her eyes getting all worried. But then, Consort Yoon smiled and told her daughter that nothing bad had happened to her. The eggs gave the dessert a weird, raw taste, so Consort Yoon suggested adding some fruit syrup. Back when Yoon was living in the inner palace, she'd sneak around making sweets and share them with her friends. Growing up, sweets were just a pipe dream, so she'd sneak into the women's quarters and swipe them. She didn't have a family, just bounced around relatives' houses until she landed in palace service. She lost touch with her family pretty quick, but she did have one close friend, closer than family. When her relatives were short on food, she'd secretly share her rations with Yoon, even if it meant she went hungry. One day, her friend promised to grow up, make a ton of cash, and come back to stuff her face, but then she vanished. Later, Yoon ended up in the palace as a maid too, never getting the chance to keep her promise to meet up. Then, one day, some dude shows up at the palace pretending to be her cousin. Shia was wondering, could they actually have a thing for each other? Yoon flat out ordered the young lady to never breathe a word of it to anyone. The main character wondered, back when Yoon was still a palace lady, someone pretending to be family came to the palace too. Shia was super stoked to see her older brother. He and his bodyguard greeted the young miss with a bow. The main character told the crown prince she whipped up something yummy and wanted to take it to the empress. Lee Hae got curious too, wondering what she made. Shia promised to let him try it next time, and the prince nodded, mentioning he was heading out for archery practice. The crown prince vowed to teach his sister too, once she got a little older. The main character perked up and said learning a skill from childhood wasn't such a bad idea. Lee Hae was supposed to go shoot arrows with Grand Prince Yongwon, but looks like he bailed today. The moment the main character stepped into the palace, she heard the empress and the third prince going at it. Shia realized she totally picked the wrong time. She was about to leave when the third prince suddenly bolted out of his mother's office. He didn't say a word, just ran off in a hurry. The main character entered the empress's office and greeted her highness. The empress was happy and invited the young lady to come in. Shia offered the woman her dessert, and the empress immediately appreciated its gentle sweetness. The main character explained that she was planning to learn little by little to keep it safe. The empress knew that the princess was still learning how to ride as well. Shia confirmed this and said that the crown prince had promised to teach her horseback riding and archery. Noticing the empress's strange reaction, the heroine asked if it wasn't possible. The empress hadn't allowed her son to learn those things, so she couldn't just let the princess do them. She tried to explain it was dangerous, but the main girl just said she'd be surrounded by guards with the crown prince. So, Shay decided to ask Her Majesty if Prince Yeonwoo could study there too. Li Hua was chilling by the pond when the main girl tracked him down. He had no doubt his sister had heard everything. Ever since Mom became Empress, the prince started feeling like she'd gotten colder. Since Shay managed to get Her Majesty's okay, she suggested her brother get some training in archery and horseback riding. Li Hua was totally baffled how Shay pulled it off. The main girl just grinned and said that's the power of a bribe. The crown prince told his sister not to get distracted and focus on the horse. Shay wasn't scared at all, because there was no way she'd lose to Prince Yeonwoo, who was clearly freaked out. Li Hua just yelled out that he ain't scared of nothing. Good thing he didn't become crown prince. No way he could run the country being so gullible. And that naive kid in the novel ends up so cold and distant. Just goes to show you, environment's everything. But now the big prince has zero chance of meeting the novel's main girl. She's supposed to bump into Li Hua on her way to the palace to introduce herself to the empress as a possible princess. Except right now, that girl's way too young. Shia wondered if she was the reason the main guy and girl wouldn't meet. Though maybe it's better if they don't. They'd live a life without all the drama and chaos. After class, the crown prince escorted the princess. The main girl worried the prince had time for this because of the servants, who were following them, all stressed. Sis is starting to think Big Bro sees their little war games as a damn vacation. Not that she's complaining, she enjoys hanging with him too. After the punishment order dropped, Yongbin and Yongon got locked up, and sometimes they'd just start screaming like they were losing it. The crown prince figured he'd go check up on them. But our girl ain't about to go visit people she can't stand. Lee Hae, being the crown prince, has got to do stuff he hates, but Shia gets to call her own shots. MC hears the screaming again. The crown prince covers her ears, so the little one doesn't have to hear anything. Once the noise stops, Lee Hae tells his sister to eat well, focus on the good stuff, and stay positive. Then he heads off to see his brother. Since Lee Hae's a relative on her mom's side, he has to check in on them every so often. A little later, Shia found out she was about to get a younger sibling. That's why when Mom first tried the pudding, something seemed off to her. Turns out it was morning sickness. The main character got curious about whether it'd be a girl or a boy. Maybe he'll be born and look exactly like the main character's younger brother, Yoon Si-woon. Shia decided to congratulate her mother in person. The maids asked the mistress how it went. Since Her Highness was probably super happy, the main character confirmed that, except Shia noticed something was up with Bayek. because she looked kind of out of it. Turns out the maid just didn't understand why people in the Crown Prince's palace were so rude. The prince's personal maid told her to keep smiling. The main character rolled her eyes, because the people from the East Palace disliked her too, and were still giving her the stink eye even today. Seriously, how did it get to the point where they're even messing with her servants? Of course, Shia couldn't just stand by and watch, since he had a pretty good idea brewing. The heroine offered the Crown Prince the dessert that the queen had gifted her last time. Lee got curious, wondering if she'd already offered this to his father. She said no, which meant the Crown Prince got to try the dish way before his dad. The main character explained that the dish needed more thorough testing. The Crown Prince asked if his father wouldn't be upset. Out of the blue, the princess mentioned that a lot of people were saying she was acting frivolous. So, the Crown Prince asked, brows furrowed and all serious, did Sangoon say something to you? Shia was expecting this, but she didn't think it would make him this angry. Now, Lee was starting to wonder if he even deserved to be Crown Prince. But that wasn't it at all. The prince wasn't usually like this, so the main character couldn't figure out why he was suddenly so negative. She jumped up, asking, did something else happen yesterday after you met with the second prince? Lee didn't answer, but she knew how exhausted he was. The Crown Prince immediately pulled the main character into a hug. Soon, he'd have to take a princess as his wife. It had been so long since his mother passed, but he still didn't want to bring another woman into the house. If she hadn't become the Crown Princess, maybe she wouldn't have stressed so much and died so young. Shia asked her brother if there was anything he wanted to get her. Dad still keeps the ring he gave the princess when he was the Crown Prince. The main character revealed that he bought it while walking among the commoners. Lee asked with a warm smile, why is our Shia so smart? And she replied that she was just born this way. The Crown Prince told his sister to tell him right away if her future husband ever acted out of line. But Shia responded that if she didn't like her husband, she'd just live alone. However, Lee didn't understand how you could live alone when you had a husband. The main character explained that when a husband dies, the princess can finally live alone in peace. That sounded like she was about to do something to her husband. The novel said after the little princesses died, the emperor fell into despair and couldn't have any more kids. And now, on top of Shia, there's another kid on the way. The prince reminded his sister that they're both members of the royal family. But Shia decided, if she doesn't want to get married, she'll just bolt to another island with the cash the day before the wedding. Lee just told his sister to let him know if she ever does like someone. Crossing her arms, the girl said she'd think about it. So the seasons passed and time flowed peacefully. But one day, the empress really tore into her. The main character told the maids she was fine, but still asked them not to tell her mother anything. Honestly, Shia was ready to take the heat for it, so she doesn't regret a thing. She told the empress that the great prince always works his butt off, so she could just cut him some slack. After she said that, Songbin grabbed a whip. But Mom didn't seem as pissed as she let on. She actually started crying and apologized in the end. Sounds like she usually lays the smack down on her real son, huh? Right now, our girl's in Gong's ward. But the Crown Prince and the third prince still showed up. All worried, Lee asked his sister if she was okay. He was convinced Shia got punished because of her screw-up of a brother. The Crown Prince wouldn't just waltz into the palace unannounced, which means the Empress knew he was coming, so she chewed Shia out on purpose. This was all just a show to prove she wasn't trying to steal the heir's spot. Bet the Crown Prince heard every single word. The main girl agreed the Empress went too far this time, but not with her. With her own son, Li Hua hadn't said a word, but Shia was sure he felt terrible. Officially, officials and non-heir princes are supposed to study culture, just to keep up appearances. But they gotta live by the motto that they're pure, free, and couldn't care less about power or the throne. But since the Crown Prince was cool with Yongwon, he followed his older brother in studies and martial arts. And here's the kicker, he's better than the heir at everything. The Grand Prince is still way younger than the Crown Prince, so you can't really compare them directly. Out of nowhere, Li He announced he's super dumb, and the country would be better off with someone amazing as Crown Prince. But if we swap out the prince, the elders will start a major power struggle. Talent's great, but it doesn't mean he's the only one who can get the job done. This whole thing might not even amount to anything big anyway. Li He wonders sometimes, cause Shia says stuff a kid shouldn't even know. Guess he doesn't need to worry about her then. The Crown Prince announced the upcoming war games. He's planning on leaving the palace for a while. They used to do them in spring, but lately it's been winter instead. That's when the wild animals get desperate and start showing up near people's houses, looking for food. The main girl's thinking the Crown Prince on a hunt just feels wrong. Her brother's way more suited to brushes and books, so Shia can't see sending such a pretty face out hunting. Out of the blue, Li He asked his sister to make him that rice cake one more time before he leaves. It's a new snack created for Consort Yun, who's got morning sickness and can't keep anything down. It's lighter than regular rice cake, so pregnant women are really digging it. The main character promised to whip it up for him tomorrow. Turns out, word got around about the cake, and now everyone wants a taste. Shia eyed her brother suspiciously, wondering if he was planning on giving the leftovers to other people. He looked at the heroine with puppy dog eyes and whined, asking if he couldn't do that. But the main character was more interested in whether her brother planned on giving the snack to the second prince. Lee Hae confessed he was super worried because his personality is getting meaner and meaner every day. Shia then said she'd think about his request. But if bro promises not to give away his portion, then fine, the main girl will handle it. Li Hua started getting ticked, and the crown prince figured his brother just wanted a piece of the pie too. Whenever the main character chatted with the unborn baby, it would get super active. Not sure if it's a princess or a prince yet, but that kid is impatient as hell. Shia asked her mom if she was okay, and her mom told her not to worry about her. The main character reminded her that the roads are icy in the winter, and asked her mom to be careful when she goes outside. Young Seong-oh walked up to the crown prince and asked if he was all right. The crown prince splashed his face with cold water, said it was nothing, and told him to ignore it. Then, he pulled the arrow out of the wounded crow. It would have been easier if it had just died from the first arrow hit. A massive tiger strolled out of the deep woods, taking its sweet time. Everyone froze, staring at the killer beast. The crown prince hopped on his horse in a rush, telling his men to hurry back, now! They didn't even have a trap set up for the damn tiger. Li Hua and his mentor noticed that Her Highness had decided to drop by their class again. And today, the main girl showed up with a bribe. She handed her little gift to the instructor, saying he could share it with his wife and kids. Shia had her own reason for showing up during the great Prince Yongwon's lessons. The main character was using his class as an excuse to figure out how this world works. But Li Hua still couldn't figure out why she was sitting in on his lessons. This world's like the Joseon Dynasty the main girl knows, but with differences, like some characters are missing. Maybe that's why Shay was so into studying history. Kids like the third prince, even when they're messed with, they still grind and learn, totally focused. After class, the kids went out to play. Li Hua was feeling himself, since his little sis wasn't quite ready to go head-to-head with her big brother. Seeing the maids whispering, the main girl wondered why all the servants were gathered there. The court ladies jumped when the young miss suddenly demanded to know what was going on. Turns out, a messenger arrived from Gangwon province with urgent news, and then he hauled ass. The third prince guessed that if it was that urgent, it must be seriously important. The main girl wondered what the heck happened, that they even sent a messenger from Gangwon province with such a hot update. This might be something even the king can't figure out. Shia grabbed her brother's arm, telling him they needed to see the empress, like now. The princess looked at her brother, horrified, when he said they were breaking etiquette rules right then and there. Li Hua was taken aback when his sister yelled that they needed to hurry. The little one threw the door open first. The officials started protesting, saying they were told to let no one in while they were meeting with the empress. The third prince apologized to the empress, saying he hadn't taken proper care of his sister. He was about to leave, but Her Majesty asked him to stay. Grand Prince Yongwon and Shia need to know this news. Soon, everyone knew that the crown prince had died tragically, torn to pieces by a tiger. The main character couldn't believe it. Her brother promised he'd be back. Before he left, the crown prince asked his sister to look after something for him. It was that ring the princess mentioned before, the one the crown prince got from their dad. Li Hae thought if he took it out on maneuvers, he'd definitely lose it. As soon as he got back, the prince promised his sweet little sister he'd bring her something better than that. So all his words were a lie? A month passed after that. The prince's funeral dragged on, and Shia cried herself to sleep every single night. But one day, she finally left her room. The princess asked the court ladies if they knew where the senior officer was. They said he was completely healed. But you couldn't trust those rumors either. Young Seong-oh had been wounded in the eye. The guy immediately hopped out of bed, even though Her Highness told him he didn't have to. The main character decided to get the whole truth from the senior officer, since everyone else clammed up. She still hadn't even seen her brother's body, and they wouldn't tell her anything about his final moments. It's even crueler that she's forced to piece together information from gossip alone. The crown prince always told his attendant that the lady's stubbornness couldn't be beaten, and he was right. It all happened when they suddenly got caught in a heavy snowfall and rushed back. Because they sped up, the horse slipped on the snowy road, and the prince was thrown off. Luckily, he wasn't seriously hurt and was about to get back on his horse, but then, like it was waiting for the perfect time, a tiger appeared. So young Sun-oh ushered the crown prince forward and stayed behind alone to fight the tiger. The predator was old and slow, so the guy managed to land a fatal blow with just his bow. Back then, our hero thought he'd gotten lucky. That was before he found the others who went ahead, completely messed up. There was another tiger. Young Sun-oh immediately went on the attack, figuring the beast had ripped His Highness the Crown Prince to shreds. He managed to wound the second tiger, but it threw him off. Battered by the tiger, young Sun-Oh blacked out and fell, and when he came to aid, he saw the tiger's fangs right in front of him, and that's when he figured it was all over. But suddenly, the predator twisted and roared, like it was dying. Turns out, the Crown Prince, the guy young Sun-Oh thought was a goner, was standing off to the side with a drawn bow. In other words, the bonehead Crown Prince was risking his life to save his warrior. When young Sun-Oh opened his eyes again, he realized that he was definitely the only one left alive. Gathering his last bit of strength, he followed the tiger's tracks and found it wounded and breathing heavily among the scattered bodies. That's how young Sun-Oh ended the tiger's life, using his fallen comrade's sword. After that, soldiers found the guy, gave him first aid, and then used the remaining belongings and clothes to identify the body. The Crown Prince was holding a painting of the Grand Prince and Princess in his hands. Lee Hae was always like that, thinking about others instead of himself. But the main character loved that about him. Even though Shia was resentful, she couldn't punish young Sun-Oh, because then the Crown Prince's death would be pointless. The main character headed for the exit and told the senior officer not to bother seeing her out. But young Sun-Oh wasn't having it. He insisted on escorting the princess. On her way back, Beck gave one of the maids a suspicious look. Then the lady-in-waiting explained to the princess that she thought she recognized someone. A servant reported that visits to the infirmary had become more frequent lately. When Yeonbin heard about the Crown Prince, she started crying, saying she wanted to repay his kindness and say goodbye one last time. Except, when she was alive, she treated him cruelly and said horrible things. Young Sun-Oh told the princess about his plans to resign and leave his post. Shia's eyes widened, and she asked the guy if the Crown Prince hadn't wanted that outcome. But he'd served His Highness for years, and now he can't, and doesn't have the right to serve a new master. Shia heard he risked his neck and clawed his way to become a senior officer. Out of nowhere, young Sun-Oh told the princess the Crown Prince was counting the days until she grew up. He told her to take care of herself, and she told the senior officer to do the same. Then, they said their goodbyes. Officially, the Crown Prince's death was ruled an accident, a fall from his horse, but rumors were flying. Lately, the gossipy maids have been whispering about a tiger eating someone, or strange voices they've heard. Baek told her to absolutely not answer if she heard any voice calling her name. It means whoever got eaten by the tiger turns into a slave, bringing it more prey. The main character spun around when a voice called her name and demanded to know who was there. A massive tiger emerged from the shadows. The court lady snatched up the young princess and bolted, trying to get as far away from that beast as possible. The main character was totally lost, wondering what the heck was going on. Are there seriously ghosts in this world or something? The maid carrying the princess didn't see a rock in the dark and tripped over it. She lost her balance and went down hard. Right above her, the main character saw the paw of a massive beast, and surprisingly, a knife sticking out of it. But the tiger froze as soon as it heard the guards' voices. The huge predator turned around and vanished into the darkness. Young Sun-Oh showed up with a medic to check on the princess, asking if she was okay and what all the screaming was about. Thank goodness those two got here when they did. The main character felt a little safer at least. Palace guards rushed over to the heroes in a heartbeat. The maids tried to explain what happened, but Shia told them all to shut it. The princess herself explained that some shady guy attacked them and then bolted in the other direction. As soon as the servants left, Baek asked her lady if they shouldn't report this to the palace guards immediately. But Shia replied that the voice was completely different, and she couldn't mistake her own brother's voice. In all the chaos, she was the only one who saw it clearly. But that tiger's gait just didn't feel right. He moved like there was a person inside. And most importantly, in the moonlight, the princess managed to spot something shiny that didn't look like animal claws. So this is a human's doing. Kinda weird coming from a kid. But the main character didn't have time to think about it right now. Everyone in the palace already knows the Crown Prince died in a tiger accident, so the rumors are just gonna get worse. Suddenly, Ami rushed up to the princess. She begged her lady to go see her Royal Highness Consort Yun right now. Turns out, the lady started bleeding out. Amy grabbed the doctor's hand and dragged him to the ladies' chambers. The main character, freaked out by everything, asked the maid what happened that her mom suddenly started bleeding. Everything was fine with her mom before she had dinner and drank her medicinal tea. But then, out of nowhere, a young guy's voice called out to Lady Yun. The main character immediately asked if it was definitely a human voice, and the court lady said yes. Then something weird jumped out at the lady, scared the crap out of her, and she fell, which started the bleeding. Shia couldn't figure out who dare do something like that to her sister. Turns out, lately the lady had been saying her stomach felt like a rock. Maybe it was all the stress from the crown prince, since she felt like garbage the whole ceremony. The medicine just made her feel worse, so Beck went to the royal infirmary a bunch of times. But every time they checked her out, they said it was just stress. Her sister's voice had never sounded so beat. She's going into labor 3 months early, and if things go sideways, both the baby and her sister's life are on the line. The concubine kept screaming, and Shia couldn't take it anymore. But suddenly, the screams started to fade away. The main character's eyes flooded. The second the healer started yelling for the mistress, totally panicked. The princess shot up like a rocket. She threw open the door and saw maids freaking out, begging the mistress to open her eyes. Yun slowly lifted her eyelids and looked at Shia. The main character touched her hand, and the woman whispered that she was so happy she came to see her. She was so damn happy to be with her only daughter in her final moment. The concubine's eyelids closed, and her heartbeat flatlined. The main character hugged her sister and screamed, desperate, not understanding why things turned out this way. Her brother, her sister, why does everyone always leave her? And then the main character passed out again, waking up back in her room to a bunch of voices. The emperor's ordered a funeral for consort Yun, but he wants it kept low-key. After that, the maids were whispering about how none of this would have happened if it weren't for the kid. My guess is, in the original timeline, the sister wouldn't have died, but the main character messed with fate. Looks like the crown prince couldn't dodge his destiny either. Ended up kicking the bucket. Maybe everything she's been doing has been for nothing. She opens her eyes, and boom, right in front of her are Bayek and Ami. Shia sits up in bed and jumps right in, asking how her mother's baby is doing. Judging by the maids' faces, she knows the little one didn't make it. Shia really wanted to take care of that baby when it was born, dreamed of watching him grow up healthy. The main character starts crying again, and Ami tries to calm her down. The maid said His Majesty himself came and took care of her personally for days before leaving. Turns out, Youngbin and Kyungwon showed up too, but the maids blocked them on purpose, so they wouldn't cause any trouble. They brought a medicinal brew into the princess's room. Suddenly, the main character remembered that her sister had been getting worse after drinking the brew, ever since the crown prince's funeral. Back then, the Chwanyongdan maids started infiltrating the royal infirmary, so there's a high chance this was all set up. But the brews have already been destroyed, so there's no finding any evidence now. Even if we somehow manage to do an autopsy, it'll be tough to prove there was poison inside. Maid Beg told her mistress to rest and not to worry about anything else. But the main character hasn't eaten anything or moved in days, so now it's time for her to start getting back on her feet. Shia got tons of visitors these past few days. The Emperor and Empress, Grand Prince Yongwon, even the concubines sent people to check on her. But out of everyone, none were who she really wanted to see. Days went by, and only when the court physician said she was better could Shia leave the clinic. The first place she went was the room she used to share with her sister. Everything was pretty much the same, but now someone was missing. Her sister's tomb was outside the palace, so she couldn't even visit. Her eyes went wide as she heard her sister's voice calling her name. And then, right in front of her, Shia saw her, crying her eyes out, grieving over a lost loved one. From the picture, she realized it was her funeral. Shia got closer to her sister, and she suddenly grabbed her hand, saying with a bloody mouth that it wasn't fair. The main character bolted upright in bed, jolted awake from a nightmare. It's just a dream, but the tears are already starting to flow again. Why is it that, now, she's suddenly having this dream? Shia decided to get some air, threw on a cloak, and quietly slipped outside while the other maids were still asleep. Since the guards were all focused on protecting the Grand Prince Yunwan, Shia was able to get out without any trouble. Truth is, she didn't really know why she came to Treondong, but our girl froze as soon as she heard a familiar voice asking someone else if the job was done. Shia immediately ducked down and held her breath, trying not to get spotted. Just like the second prince ordered, one of Grand Prince Yunwan's maids was taken care of. So the lady-in-waiting has to slip something into Yongwon's food. But Kyonan wasn't saying what it was. Just like the prince promised, the second he gets out of here, that servant girl gets promoted to concubine and is done running errands. In other words, Kyonan is trying to poison the great Prince Yongwon right now. I gotta get word to the prince ASAP before they actually poison him. Seeing the servant girl bolt out, the main character barely managed to hide and ended up going unnoticed. Once the coast was clear, Shia decided to follow her right away. Out of nowhere, Kyonan asked someone to come out, and then said they needed to handle everything quietly. If it doesn't work, and Yongwon doesn't die, then let him suffer a lifetime of fear of being poisoned. If Kyonan had just been put on the throne right away, he wouldn't even have resorted to this much death. His older brother's death was just an opportunity for Kyonan, and now everything's finally falling into place. He pretended to be a noble guy, framed his older brother as a monster, and poisoned Shia to grab the throne. Some dude asked the prince why he let the princess live, but Kunan was sure a weakling like her couldn't stop him, and she'd be begging for mercy real soon. Besides, her cooking's pretty decent. Now our girl understood why he kept her around. The big shot prince was totally shocked when Shia found him. The heroine burst into the room and was so stoked to see her brother alive. Youngwon took her hands in his, all worried, asking why she was so cold and barely dressed. Then the prince guessed she ran here after a nightmare, and now she couldn't sleep alone. The heroine lied and said that's exactly what happened. Yeonwoo gave a warm smile the second the princess asked if she could stay over tonight. Shia got into bed, and the prince said he couldn't sleep, so he wanted to read a book. The main character noticed dried plums on her brother's desk, and Yeonwoo explained that they were brought to him as a snack, but he didn't feel like eating them. The princess asked to eat one, and Yeonwoo, of course, said she could. Seems the prince is hitting the books hard these days, cause without it, his mind starts wandering to dark places. Ever since that incident with his older brother, Yeonwoo's been wanting to visit Shia more often and take care of her. She was so happy when she found out she was getting a little brother, so now the prince has decided to look after her even more. Suddenly, a scene flashed in his mind, where his sister's asking for another plum, and when he turns around, he sees a ghost with blood pouring from its mouth. Yeonwoo couldn't figure out why he suddenly remembered that. Just in case, the great prince decided to turn around and check on Shia. The little girl's mouth was completely covered in blood. She closed her eyes as the prince jumped up, grabbed her, and frantically yelled for a doctor. With her last ounce of strength, Shia squeezed out that, if anything, he had to become a good ruler. Yeonwoo's eyes widened, and the main character passed out. The great prince started sobbing loudly, clutching the person he loved more than anything to his chest until it hurt, screaming her name. That night, the princess woke her maids and told them to follow her to the great Prince Yeonwoo. She ordered them to capture the person she'd asked them to detain, without fail. After that, he needed to be brought to the inner courtyard immediately. If the ladies-in-waiting said it was on the princess's orders, Her Majesty the Empress would take care of everything else. Shia told the girls again not to worry about her. But now, she was lying powerless in bed, after taking the poison. Ami couldn't believe her lady actually went through with it. Some time passed, and Amai was once again carrying food down the hall, prepared for the princess. Walking in, she found her lady fully conscious and looking less sickly. Tears just welled up in Ami's eyes. Soon the emperor rushed to Shia's side. He hugged his daughter tightly, for the first time in a long time, because he was so damn happy she was okay. The man didn't understand how she could break her father's heart like that. Right after His Majesty, the worried empress ran in, as soon as she heard the princess had woken up. The healers are saying it's a straight-up miracle the lady even survived in that condition. Shia wanted to ask what happened after that day, but the vibe was so heavy, she couldn't get a word out. Honestly, it was scarier than Dad when he's pissed. Just the great Prince Yongwon, sitting there in silence, not saying a damn thing. He stayed even after the emperor and empress left, and then finally spoke, making Shia jump. You could see the worry and judgment in his eyes. He started to say something, then changed his mind and told his sister to rest, even though she couldn't with him around. Turns out, Yongwon's now the crown prince. Shia congratulated him, and that's when her brother snapped, saying it didn't mean crap because she was basically knocking on death's door the whole time. Yongwon asked if she even had a clue how he felt seeing her cough up blood like that. Shia's acting like nothing even happened now. The main girl just hugged her brother and apologized, saying it was all her fault. Yongwon pulled her in tight and finally broke down crying after all this time. Honestly, Shia didn't even think about him, even though the prince suffered just as much as she did. Yongbin pushed his sister back a little and asked, totally pissed, if she knew there was poison in those snacks. He remembered perfectly that she apologized to him. Plus, she came to his chambers alone, without her ladies-in-waiting, who ended up grabbing the maid who brought the persimmons. Usually, Yongbin was a total blockhead, but all of a sudden, he got sharp. After calming down, the prince said that not even Shia would knowingly take poison, so he was just talking crazy. The prince said that he got confused because of the testimony from that same maid who brought the persimmons. This lady acted like she didn't know a thing at first, but with Shia on death's door, we had to persuade her a little more forcefully. She finally cracked and admitted she'd slipped some medicine from Prince Kyonan into the mix, but claimed she had no idea what it was. Turns out she was telling the truth, because they found poison hidden in the second prince's room. And that's not all. Besides the poisoning attempt, we dug up some other nasty stuff. Apparently, they were casting curses on your brother at the estate. Back then, curses weren't just some superstition, so you couldn't just brush them off. Dad totally lost it and wanted to execute everyone involved right then and there. But we were still in mourning for your older brother, and too much bad stuff had already gone down. So Kyonan got stripped of his title and banished into exile. Following him out the door, a bunch of officials from the left minister's crew got exiled too. That messed Shia up, and then her brother added they'd been shipped off to different regions for forced resettlement. It's a punishment where they walled up prisoners so high, not even light could get in. The only connection to the outside world was a tiny hole they passed food through. The main character's eyes went wide as her brother asked if she was okay. Shia gave him a warm smile and said she was. Soon spring arrived. Songbirds were chirping like crazy, and Shia was greeted by warm sunlight and a fresh breeze. But to the main character's huge disappointment, she didn't feel even a shred of happiness that she'd survived. The princess was told that the crown prince was looking for her. Shortly after she got her health back, that title was officially granted to the main character. If anything was unexpected, it was that the emperor, empress, and crown prince kept sending people to Shia. The main character was all, "Seriously, my brother dragged me here just for a snack." Just like she figured, Yeonwon's snacks ain't your average grub. The crown prince was thinking, why is my sister growing so damn slow? Is she skipping meals on purpose or what? Shia wasn't gaining enough weight, and it was starting to freak Yeonwon out. According to the doc, the main character's body was weakened by poison, but otherwise, she's supposedly fine. Shia overheard them talking about picking a bride for the crown prince, and Yeonwon visibly winced. Truth was, the prince didn't want any of it. The main character chirped, "It's just the elder's wisdom, looking out for your best interests, big bro." If this little munchkin keeps listening to weird crap, Yeonwon's gonna have to gag the princess's maids. Out of nowhere, the prince asked, "When are you gonna start studying? You've got a real knack for math, you know?" Okay, so Shia just wanted to make the crown prince's job easier. That's why she introduced Arabic numerals and statistical charts. The main character didn't want to answer the prince's question, so she bolted. She figured she'd take a walk, now that she was feeling a bit lighter. The princess stopped dead in her tracks when she suddenly heard a kid's voice. Turns out it was some kid she didn't know, and he called her super pretty. The main character walked closer and asked the little dude where he'd come from. The kid said he came here with his sister and aunt because his dad did great in battle, so they invited him as a reward. Then the kid, all excited, asked her who she was, because she looked way too cute to be a servant. Shia awkwardly asked if there was some kind of rule that palace maids couldn't be beautiful. She decided to change the subject and asked her new friend if he shouldn't be looking for his family. The kid was stoked. Now that he'd made it to the palace, he didn't want to just bail right away. Besides, there were some seriously hot maids working here. The main girl held out her hand and offered to show him around the royal grounds a bit. The little dude was completely blown away by how gorgeous the palace was. The main girl hadn't had such a candid conversation with anyone in ages, besides the current crown prince anyway. Suddenly, her new buddy's stomach let out a massive growl. So, they wound up snagging some castella that had been smuggled in earlier from the bakery. The main girl told him that this egg and rice cake thing was all anyone could talk about right now. The little guy was instantly hooked on the flavor. As soon as they'd finished their snack, the main girl decided to take her new friend back to the palace to his folks. But out of nowhere, this huge black crow swooped down right over the princess's head. Instantly, the kid pulls Shia close, shielding her from the bird's sudden attack. Turns out, the crow wasn't trying to attack at all. He snags the bird with one hand, asks the girl if she's okay, which totally throws her for a loop. Turns out, the crow had a string tangled around its foot, which is why it couldn't fly off properly. The main girl thanked the kid for catching the bird, saying she almost lost something really important. Ever since her older brother gave her that ring, Shia never took it off and always took good care of it. Hearing that, the boy squeezed the bird even tighter and called it a little jerk. But the two let the crow go, telling it to never come back, or it'll get what's coming to it. Turning her head, Shia accidentally kissed the boy on the cheek. She immediately pulled away and started apologizing, saying it was totally an accident. The kid's face went bright red, and he started stuttering. The little dude straight up started holding his breath. And that's when our main girl saw the kid's bloody wound. Probably just got pecked by a crow or something, no big deal. But it still needs to be cleaned up. There wasn't anything else around, so Shia gave up her scarf and wrapped it around her new buddy's arm. Honestly, she was surprised by how brave he was, and he told her he got it from his dad. Because of his insane combat skills, his dad became a freaking army commander. A thought suddenly hit our girl, and she jumped to her feet like lightning. The boy mentioned he came here with his sister, so Shia figured out she's 14, which is the same age as the crown prince, meaning she's a candidate to be Yeonwon's wife. The main character grabbed the kid's hand and hauled him along without a word. The crown prince asked the girl if she'd be his bride, but becoming the crown prince's fiancée was the last thing she wanted. Even from 100 yards away, you could tell she was the novel's main character, so Shia couldn't look away. Truth is, this girl dreamed of becoming a healer. Her mom was sick, but back then, women's illnesses often weren't treated right. That's why her mom died young, and it became a heavy burden for the novel's heroine. The girl was sure the crown prince would say a woman couldn't do that job. But surprisingly, Yeonwon replied that if a noblewoman became a healer, it would be much easier for other women. That was the first time the heroine had ever heard words like that. Maybe the crown prince had these thoughts because of his little sister. She is smart, but she can be unpredictable and a pain in the butt. Yeonwon gently touched the girl's hand and said softly that he really needed the crown princess right now. So, he sweetly asked her to think about it one more time. Shia knew right away her brother was using his good looks as a weapon. Looks like the crown prince figured out he needs to get married ASAP to solidify his position. Sucheon couldn't stand watching this and ran out to his sister. His sister immediately asked him, all worried, where he'd been because she couldn't find him anywhere. She didn't get how he managed to get all those injuries and where the heck he got that white cloth from. The crown prince was taken aback seeing Shia. The main character came out of hiding and awkwardly told the crown prince it was an accident. Sucheon's sister froze when she saw the princess. With a smile, the crown prince introduced his sister, Princess Shia. Sucheon's face showed surprise mixed with awe at who he'd been hanging out with. The girl immediately apologized to the princess, said her name was Kim Ji-hwa, and the boy introduced himself as Sucheon. Now that Kim Ji-hwa had found her little brother, she needed to get going, so she thanked the crown prince for his time. But she clearly didn't know the palace, so Yeonwon couldn't just let her go alone and offered to escort her, which she accepted. After the dried persimmon incident, the prince had become wary of people, but now he was pretty outgoing. Yeonwon asked Kim Ji-hwa, again, to become the crown princess, and she politely replied that the castle's strict rules weren't for her. She loves her freedom and enjoying festivals any time of the year. Unlike her, the crown prince has never left the palace walls, and now it's a million times harder. But even so, he offered to personally show Kim Ji-hwa the Lantern Festival, which is happening real soon. The girl instantly blushed, totally caught off guard, but she agreed. The main character suddenly remembered a critical plot point from the novel. Yongbin, her adopted father, planned to destroy Ji-hwa's family by framing her for treason, all to get to the crown prince. Even though Ji-hwa managed to escape in the chaos, her entire family was captured, and it was written that they all died. After the Yongbin and Prince Gyeongin incident, Hong Sang-jo also resigned. But we still can't let our guard down. What happened in the original story, it finally happened here. Shia whispered to her new friend to definitely follow her sister if she goes anywhere on the 4th moon of April. The main character explained that she was planning on going too. That day was finally here, and our heroes were off to the party they'd been waiting for. Meanwhile, the officials were begging His Majesty to take action, saying this crime was nothing short of treason. The emperor ordered everyone involved arrested. Sucheon asked the princess if she liked dried persimmons, because he heard they were awesome. Shia sheepishly admitted she wasn't a fan, but instead, she suggested they go grab some honey cookies together. The crown prince smiled warmly. Seeing the kids so happy just made his day. On their way, they stumbled across a shadow puppet show. Sucheon grabbed the princess's hand and pulled her along, wanting to check it out together. The main character freaked the hell out when this dude in a tiger mask just materialized right in front of her. Sucheon noticed the princess's weird reaction, so he suggested they head back, saying it wasn't as interesting as he thought. Stepping aside, the kid promised the main character that he'd always protect her from any danger. Shia smiled and told him she'd be counting on it. The crown prince bought some lanterns and suggested they go up on the fortress wall and launch them together. The main character said she was tired and wanted to chill for a bit, and Sucheon backed her up. Truth was, Shia knew her brother just wanted to hang with Ji-hwa, not babysitter. In the original story, that girl survives, so no worries, cause Yongwon will be around. Soon, the princess and her friend got to the house that Ji-hwa rents every year for the Lantern Festival. Looks like we can finally breathe easy for once. Seriously, the main girl was freaking out. But they had a blast until their feet were killing them. But that's way better than if everything had stayed the same by the end of the Lantern Festival. Shia couldn't have stopped natural disasters, like that tiger attack. But maybe they finally turned a corner now. In the distance, our heroes heard the sound of fireworks. They say the students launch boats and put on a fire show on the Han River. So Sucheon asked the princess to go there with him later, and she promised she would. Suddenly, a servant came running with terrible news. Turns out, the lord is being accused of treason. Sucheon shot to his feet, his voice shaking, saying there's no way, his father would never do that. The main character couldn't figure out why this was happening, especially since Hong Sang-jo had no reason to do it anymore. Sucheon yelled that he wasn't running until he double-checked everything, but Shia clocked him over the head, hard, then screamed that he needed to snap out of it, ASAP, because his life was on the line. Shia asked one of the servants his name and found out it was Dokchil. The princess ordered him to get up on the wall, right now, and send a message, since he knew best where the lady might have gone. The main character advised it'd be better to go out the south gate, take the ferry across the Han River, and go around the city. So, she told Dokchil to hurry up and let them know to meet at the ferry crossing. Then, Shia asked her court ladies if they had grabbed outer garments, and immediately got a yes. Sucheon flinched as soon as the princess told him to strip. So yeah, they ended up dressing him as a girl. Right now, the guards are probably grabbing every boy they see and checking them out. So we gotta change up his look, ASAP. Beck even decided to put his hair up in a bun. Honestly, the main character thought the maids would try to stop her. But Beck just smiled warmly and said that no matter what, they'd just obediently follow their mistress. It was obvious that if they got caught, a lot of people were gonna be in deep trouble. Then, the main character handed Sucheon the sweets she'd brought and told him to tell everyone he was a noble family's daughter, out for a stroll with her maid. Shia also pulled out some jewelry and gave it to her buddy, so he could sell it later and not starve. On top of that, the main character advised Sucheon not to trust his servants completely. Seeing the sadness on the kid's face, she promised to escort him to the south gate. Out of nowhere, Sucheon asked the main girl why she was being so nice to him. Shia explained that he's just a kid and hasn't done anything wrong. Being the traitor's son sucks, but right now the important thing is to run. We can figure the rest out later. Calming down, Sucheon agreed with what the princess said. The main girl decided to double-check with her friend if he really knew how to handle a horse. That's exactly what Dokchil, who was hiding nearby, managed to overhear. Soon, a horse with a rider on its back approached the gate. The guard didn't react at all, just wondering how much that silk dress cost. Suddenly, Dokchil ran forward and shouted that the kid in the skirt on the horse is actually the traitor's runaway son. The guards were starting to doubt the intel was legit, so Dokchil decided to prove it. He charged the rider and ripped off the silk cloth, hoping for a break. But under the cloak was the princess, and she gave the traitor a real nasty look. She slapped him on the hand, yelling about how he even dared to touch her. If he's claiming she's the child of a traitor, then he's gonna pay for those words. The guards decided to let her go, but Dokchil couldn't let that happen, so he grabbed the horse's tail. What he didn't expect was for the damn thing to kick him with its hind legs. Suddenly, the horse reared up and bolted, totally freaking out the main character. Ami smacked Dokchil across the face, called him a scumbag, and screamed that if anything happened to the princess, he was dead meat. Just then, Sucheon was smuggled past on someone's back, unnoticed. He totally freaked out too when he saw that horse bolt with the princess. Sucheon remembered how Princess Shia held him tight and promised him everything would be okay. The kid vowed he'd survive no matter what, and pay the princess back for her kindness. After galloping deep into the woods, the horse finally stopped, and our girl gave her a pat. Who would have thought that idiot would get so close and set Chalk off like that? Earlier, our girl explained she'd ride Sok to draw attention, while the servant carried Sucheon out. Beck would take the horse Amai brought, lead it to the west gate, hand it off, and slip away quietly. But Ami asked her to wait and offered the princess different clothes, since what she was wearing could be dangerous. That servant, Dokchil, just saw the blue clothes and went straight after her. If it weren't for Ami, things could have gone real bad. Jihwa probably didn't hear about meeting at the docks, so Shia didn't know if she'd be all right. The crown prince probably helped her get out of there somehow. But here's the interesting part. Who framed Jihwa's family for treason? In the original story, Hong Sang-jo used the conspiracy investigation as an opportunity. He tried to drag Kim Song-ik, the governor of Hamgyong province, into the plot, but it backfired. But Kyonan and Hong Sang-jo are already down, so someone else is behind this, or they still have influence. I shouldn't dwell on it today, though, because the main character did all she could. At least she saved the people she could. Suddenly, 3 guys appeared in front of her, claiming they knew her parents well. Total BS, which Shia saw right through. The main character told the thugs that her mom died years ago, and she has no relatives, she's an orphan. So the thug asked her to share her money or valuables, saying they knew her mom back in the day. But Shia apologized and said she'd already given all her cash to someone else. The guys got bummed, clearly realizing some weirdo had scammed the little kid. Then the thug pointed at the horse and said that would work too. But our girl explained that it was the last thing her dead brother left her, and he'd rescued the poor thing. The bandits were stunned by the little girl's messed up life. Shia's eyes started to well up, and the guys immediately tried to explain they were just trying to make a few bucks. They decided to leave the horse alone, but then asked the little girl to take off her clothes. The main character immediately shouted, asking if they were some kind of perverts. A quiet chuckle echoed nearby. A dude stepped out of the shadows, said things didn't seem that dangerous, so he was just gonna stroll on by. But scaring some young girl half to death? That's just messed up. The gang leader was stoked, because he could handle a grown man way different than some kid. Too bad the stranger took him out with one punch. Boom! Our girl was totally lost, wondering where this master fighter even came from. Once her savior cleaned house, he asked her if she was headed to the south gate. The stranger told her he'd go first, and for her to hang back and follow his lead. Our main girl flashed him a warm smile and thanked him for the save. Before long, they reached the spot she needed to be. Since her own people were already there waiting, the savior decided to bounce. The main girl thanked him, finally getting a decent look at his face. The guy left, and she told back that he'd escorted her here. Seeing his sister safe and sound, the crown prince felt a wave of relief. He hopped right on her horse with her. Youngwon explained that some servant came and told Jiwa to run, so those two are probably outside the capital by now. Even without knowing all the details, the prince helped them escape. A warm smile spread across Youngwon's face when the princess told him he did the right thing. That day, Shia forgot about what mattered most. She couldn't find the ring her dead brother had given her,